The 2026-2027 city budget hearings for the general enterprise and other funds. Could I have a roll call, please?
Josh Bachman.
Here.
Matt Barber.
Here.
Steve Clemens.
Here.
Corinne Dudo. Here. David Glabe.
Here.
Ricky Joe Hickey.
Here.
Megan Keating.
Here.
Molly King. Here. Gary Lillard.
Here.
Marianne Meisner.
Here.
Roxy Ogilvie is absent excused. Justin Rock.
Here.
Tony Smith.
Here.
And Denise Wheeler is going to just be a little late.
All right, thank you. Agenda approval. We have a new agenda at our seats. Any changes to that since we received it?
There's no changes to the revised agenda.
All right, very good. The public hearings on the proposed 2026-2027 city's general enterprise and other funds budget and state revenue sharing remain open and will continue this evening. These hearings shall remain open until the chair formally declares them closed at the conclusion of the hearing process. We're going to change things up a little bit this evening. I'm going to ask you all to, I'm going to ask John to do review of each budget and ask you all to hold comments or questions. Let's go through those funds, get the highlights. When we got through that, then we'll open the podium for public comments. And then once we're through with public comments, we'll go back through each budget, each fund, and ask questions, make suggestions, whatever. My hope is we can get through general fund this evening. And if that means 9 o'clock, then it will be 9 o'clock. So with that, John, I'm going to turn it over to you. Give us the highlights, please.
Right.
Starting with police.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Police is up on the screen. One of the most significant changes in this proposed reduction of 2 authorized police department positions. Importantly, these positions have remained vacant for an extended period and are not currently filled for operational positions that are being removed. This adjustment is necessary to support long-term fiscal sustainability and maintain alignment with the Fiscal Transformation Initiative while avoiding long-term structural obligations that general fund may struggle to sustain. At the same time, public safety remains a top priority. The city anticipates pursuing federal grant funding opportunities in fiscal year 27-28 with the goal of restoring these positions through external funding if successful. The budget also reflects increased IT systems maintenance costs tied to broader citywide technology, cybersecurity, and operational support needs. Additionally, the budget includes capital investment for a new police patrol vehicle and related equipment outfitting to maintain operational readiness and officer safety. I also want to note that approximately $3,000 for future replacement of code enforcement vehicle is included elsewhere within the broader budget structure under the city council and city manager budget. Ultimately, my goals are to maintain sustainable and reliable public safety operations long-term by making disciplined adjustments early enough to avoid more severe reactive measures later.
Very good.
This budget, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm jumping ahead.
This is the fire and EMS department, for the fire and EMS department. Overall, the proposed budget reflects continued operational pressures associated with maintaining emergency response readiness, EMS capability, and fire service delivery. Personnel costs increase primarily due to overtime associated with staffing and leave coverage, workers' compensation adjustments tied to fire service operations, and anticipated labor-related cost increases. The budget also reflects rising medical examination and training-related costs necessary to maintain certification requirements, operational readiness, and firefighter safety standards. Technology and dispatch-related costs also increase, including IT support, computer systems maintenance, and adjustments associated with dispatch functions. The department is also proposing several operational equipment investments, including turnout gear replacement and approximately $40,000 for ambulance stretcher upgrades to ensure all ambulances are equipped consistently. In addition, included elsewhere within the broader budget structure is approximately $50,000 transferred into reserves for the future purchase of an ambulance. The transfer is reflected within the City Council and City Manager budget rather than directly within this department budget. Overall, these investments are necessary to maintain reliable emergency response capability, operational readiness, and long-term service sustainability within fire and EMS operations. Proceeding to the Parks Department, this is the budget for the Parks Department. The most significant increase within the budget is tied to professional services associated with the Morgan Lake Dam project. That includes engineering, permitting, and environmental compliance work, as well as representing the city's share of the FEMA-related project costs. While those costs increased this fiscal year, equipment and improvement costs decreased because no major new equipment purchases are currently anticipated. I also want to note that included elsewhere within the broader budget structure is approximately $5,000 transferred into reserves for future and turf replacement needs. That transfer is reflected within the City Council and City Manager budget rather than directly within the Parks Department line items shown here. Overall, the proposed budget maintains operational stability within parks while continuing support for important long-term infrastructure and recreation-related projects connected to community quality of life. Moving to aquatics, several of the increases reflected here are tied to ongoing maintenance and operational reliability needs associated with the pool facility. That includes replacement of the pool vacuum and pumps, rising chemical costs, increased IT support costs, and additional supplies connected to concessions and daily operations. The budget also includes capital investment associated with portions of the splash pad project, as well as replacement of the facility security camera system.
Filter.
Additionally, included elsewhere within the broader budget structure is approximately $100,000 reserved for future HVAC repairs and at the pool facility, as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. That transfer is reflected within the City Council and the City Manager's budget rather than directly within the department budget. These investments are necessary to maintain safe, reliable, and sustainable aquatic operations for the community moving forward. Moving to Recreation Division. Overall, this budget remains relatively stable operationally, with the most significant increases tied to professional services and fees associated with the Arts Commission's request to complete the Signal Box Wrap project. The project is intended to support community beautification, public art visibility, and activation within public spaces throughout the community. Beyond the adjustment, the Recreation Division budget largely reflects continuation of current recreational programming and operational support activities. Maintaining recreation and community engagement opportunities remains an important component of overall community quality of life and civic vitality. Moving on to urban forestry. Overall, the proposed budget remains relatively stable, with the primary adjustment being a decrease in equipment and improvement costs, since no major new equipment purchases are anticipated this fiscal year. The urban forestry program continues supporting tree maintenance, public safety, community aesthetics, and long-term environmental health throughout the city. I also want to note that funding support for the program comes from multiple sources, including streets and roads funding, urban renewal support, and other fees and charges. Administration, or myself, I believe maintaining the urban forestry program remains important, both from a public safety standpoint and from the broader perspective of community appearance, livability, and long-term asset stewardship. Moving on to the library. Several of the adjustments reflected here are tied to facility maintenance, operational support, and long-term asset reliability. The budget includes increased costs associated with the parking lot sidewalk lighting project, including replacement of aging lights, posts, and portions of the sidewalk impacted during the construction process. At the same time, computer systems maintenance costs decrease to better reflect actual IT usage levels, and computer equipment costs decrease because the public computer replacement project was completed during the prior fiscal year. Additionally, included elsewhere within the broader budget structure is approximately $5,000 reserved for future HVAC replacement needs at the library facility. That transfer is reflected within the City Council and the City Manager budget rather than directly within the department budget. Overall, these investments support continued library operations, facility reliability, and long-term community access to library services. Moving on to economic development. Several of the increases reflected here are directly connected to the city's broader long-term sustainability and fiscal transformation strategies, if approved. Personnel costs increase primarily due to the grade movement associated within the Economic Development Director position. The most significant adjustment within the budget is the inclusion of approximately $120,000 for development of the new Economic Development Plan, intended to replace the city's 2010 plan and align with the broader urban renewal strategic plan and long-term community growth objectives. Administration, or myself, I view economic development increasingly as a long-term revenue stabilization strategy tied to tax-based growth, business retention, redevelopment, infrastructure coordination, and future financial sustainability. The budget also reflects increased IT support costs associated with broader citywide technology and operational support needs. Overall, these investments are intended to strengthen the city's long-term economic resilience and future revenue-generating capacity rather than functioning as short-term administrative expansion. Moving on to the planning department. The most significant increase within this budget is tied to consultant services associated with records management and electronic document scanning. This is part of a multi-year effort intended to modernize record storage, improve document accessibility, reduce long-term physical storage constraints, and support future operational efficiency within the department. The project also supports preparation of additional office space by allowing older archived records to be scanned and relocated electronically. The budget has included continued GIS mapping services and increased IT support costs associated with broader citywide technology needs. These investments support operational modernization, long-term efficiency, and improved organizational readiness within the planning department moving forward. Moving on to building maintenance. The primary increase reflected here are tied to IT support costs and facility maintenance works associated with improvements to the City Hall parking lot, including crack sealing, surface sealing, and restriping. These types of preventative maintenance investments are intended to help preserve infrastructure condition and reduce the likelihood of larger repair costs later. Additionally, included elsewhere within the broader budget structure is approximately $15,000 reserved for future major building projects, including long-term elevator upgrade planning. The transfer is reflected within the City Council and City Manager budget rather than directly within the department budget. These investments support long-term facility reliability, operational continuity, and responsible asset stewardship. That includes everything for the general fund. The next would be, per our agenda, the public comments, and then after that, deliberations and second review.
So we're not going to do building inspection and 911?
Those are part of the enterprise funds.
Those are part of enterprise funds.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you for that review. So at this point, I'll open the podium for and invite public comment. I think last night we had a slide that asked, requested that people limit their comments to 3 minutes. And with that, I will open the podium, and if anyone has public comments to make on general fund budgets, general funds that we reviewed, not on enterprise funds. Anyone?
Greg Amer, Washington Street, LeGrand. You're billing the taxpayers of LeGrand over $40 an hour for the city employees that sweeps the floor, cleans the bathroom in this building. Over at the marketplace, they had a person that swept the floor, cleaned the bathrooms for less than $20 an hour. Why are the taxpayers of LeGrand paying over 100% more and what the private sector does for the same service.
I don't have that information personally to answer that question because it's not an element of the budget that I recall seeing.
It is in the budget.
Any administration care to address that one?
I would say that the extent of duties that that employee has far exceeds what was described. And therefore, they're being compensated for the totality of what they do, not just simply those actions.
Is that the $40 figure accurate to include, does that include benefits and et cetera? This is a full-time person, I'm assuming?
Yes. Give us a moment to
Okay.
get to the quote.
$31.25. So one person makes $60,000 a year, divided by 12, divided by 160, he makes $31.25.
Total cost of $94,000.
Please, Mr.
But you have
Amer,
your
Mr.
benefits
Amer,
as
note,
well,
if
sir.
you're going to make comments,
I hate that. People should talk.
But he has his benefits as well.
I'm talking benefits. The benefits are part of the labor package. Your labor cost, your benefit package is 60%, not 40, what you're talking. If you take,
60,000 is what
he
he
just
makes.
saw $94,480 we pay for him to do the job, divide that by, 2,000 working hours in a year, and that's not $31.
The hourly rate with full roll-ups is $50.98. That's with full roll-ups,
Full benefits.
Fully burdened.
yes.
Thank you, Heather. Anyone else wish to speak?
I do think that the building maintenance employee does much more than that. They do repairs. It's more technical than sweeping floors and janitorial work.
Yeah, it's not just janitorial work.
No, especially City Hall is a very old building and requires some special, technical knowledge on how to maintain it. It's more than a janitor, for sure.
All right, moving on. Any other comments?
My name is Sherry Wright, and I want to address the mayor, the councilors, and the budget committee here. And thank you for letting me share my views on the splash pad project as part of the committee of that. If you would think with me for a minute, transferring transient room tax from tourism promotion to tourism infrastructure, directly benefiting local quality of life and creating a high visibility amenity that attracts families. This aligns with modern destination management, ensuring tax revenue supports the facilities tourists and residents would actually use. A splash pad is a concrete attraction that encourages longer family stays, draws visitors from surrounding areas, and providing a higher return on the investments than general advertising. A splash pad improves livability, taxing visitors through the transient room tax to build amenities that residents also use, involves the nothing here to do issue, justifying the tax to locals while providing a tourist facility. I feel that our community is ready to make the shift to a tourism infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, I have a question. If you could return to the podium, I have a question I'd like to address. No, yeah. Yes. Yeah, I was just curious, I think the splash pad is a great idea. I'm curious if the committee has looked at any data concerning bringing in tourists, since that is primarily the purpose of the TRT funds.
What it would do for tourism?
Yes.
I think Stu could be put on the spot on that.
Sure.
Just keep it brief, Stu, or we'll bring you back up during Parks and Rec.
Mr. Lillard, there's been no formal research done within the committee or within the department, other than a similar model was used as in the playground project at Riverside Park. Those kinds of attractions bring people from far and wide. We know that anecdotally, through informal surveys, that people come not only to the ball fields, but to the pool and to playgrounds from more than 50 miles away, which is the definition of the TRT funds.
Okay. So the money that would be taken from TRT funds would be to the detriment, or maybe not the correct word, but you know what I'm after. Where would that come from?
Yeah, so ultimately, the chamber would end up having a significant deficit within their funding in order to do what they're doing to promote tourism across. It would definitely impact their operations, possibly even threaten them having to reduce personnel hours, if not close the shop occasionally.
Well, the splash pad is a nice idea, but that's concerning too. Okay, thank you.
There's, go ahead.
I think if we're going to continue the conversation, we should probably wait till deliberations. Let's
Yes.
finish public comment and
Yes.
stay on track with that.
Thank you.
If that's okay.
Yes.
Good, Dana.
Any other public comments?
Hello, Mayor, Council, and Budget Committee members. I appreciate what you're doing, and I have respect for it. I'm here to advocate that the city earmark $75,000 for the proposed City of LeGrand splash pad. That money would come from the transient room tax that's received from your local Airbnbs and from your hotels. I am personally aware that the city has been funding printed tourism marketing activities for the past 25 years. Research indicates that infrastructure has a significantly stronger and more direct influence on a visitor's decision to return than printed materials. The city needs to continue with building the infrastructure that brings visitors back to LeGrand. The city's investments in the splash pad will be a significant addition to the park system and city's infrastructure. I live on one of the main streets, one of 3 main streets to Pioneer Park, and I see the wonderful job that the parks do in bringing people with license plates that are other than Oregon to our community. And I think that's why people come, is because of the great infrastructure we have down there. The business owners and city residents understand that infrastructure draws tourism to LeGrand. Look at the many thank you boards and banners around the parks as a testament of their understanding that infrastructure is what gets tourism to return and spend their money in LeGrand. Many, many businesses and private citizens donate to the infrastructures at the park. I encourage you as the decision makers for this year's budget to focus on the concrete attractions that bring tourists back to LeGrand. Thank you again for your service and the time you have given me this evening.
Thank you, Dana. Anyone else?
I'll go, Steve. There was three members of the committee asked me to read their letters into the record that you received via email. You didn't see those emails. I'm going to read those into the record, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Certainly, as part of public comments?
Yep, 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. So 3 separate 3 minutes, okay? It's going to
3 minutes.
No.
You're good.
Three people. Okay, the first one is from, my name is Kate Hilter, and I'm a member of the LeGrand Parks and Rec Splash Pad Committee, and enjoy being a part of the process and getting this project moving forward. We have a motivated group of community members who are eager to see the new splash pad become an exciting community attraction. From concept to design, the community has been enthusiastic and passionate about this project, showing their support by either joining the project committee or becoming sponsors of the splash pad. Community members, individuals, and businesses are delighted to see this much requested project become a reality. Those who have been involved, those who have already shown their support and donated are eager to see the project break ground. Not only will this community attraction be a gathering place for local families like my own, but out of the area, individuals and families will be able to enjoy it as well. Several surrounding counties have already created splash pads, water areas, and great community response, and I know many of us would love to see that in LeGrand experience the same positive impact for local and surrounding area families. The committee and its members have been hard at work raising the funds for the splash pad project and are on track to meet the requirements for a grant that would cover 60% of the project expenses. And we're asking for your support and investment. To not meet those requirements and lose the opportunity to receive the funding could cost the city of LeGrand and its citizens hundreds of thousands of dollars and would push back the project timeline substantially. It has been so wonderful to see the community come together, support such a great addition to our area, and see the citizens in agreement that a local splash pad is money well spent. I hope you consider granting the proposed funding to the Parks and Rec Splash Pad project for residents and families to enjoy for years to come. 3 minutes, number 2.
Good job.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
To whom it may concern, when my husband and I were deciding to move to LeGrand 11 years ago, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, other than his family was one of the first settlers here from the Oregon Trail. We were just thrilled that LeGrand had parks, a pool, great attractions, beautiful views, and a lot of outdoor family-oriented activities. However, we were highly disappointed there wasn't a splash pad like we had where we were from. Fast forward to now. Once we heard that there were talks about a splash pad, we jumped right on that idea. Watching it unfold right before our eyes has been an amazing experience. All of the amazing comments on social media and the community support has filled my heart with joy and pride that is truly such a huge asset to not only my family but others as well, and for many more generations to come. So let's keep this momentum and please support the splash pad. It will allow another activity for tourists to be involved with and the community as well. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Mrs. Sanchez. Okay, number 3. Dear City Manager and City Council members, my name is Joanna Matson. My husband Mark and I are on the committee for the new splash pad project being planned at Pioneer Park. This committee has been in full swing since the end of 2025, working towards bringing this wonderful project to fruition. We have worked diligently to reach out to the community to share the great addition this will be, along with asking for financial and in-kind support. This has all been with the goal to raise our part approximately $200,000 by May 31st in order to successfully apply for a state parks grant that would potentially carry 60% or $300,000 of the cost. We are so appreciative of the TRT funds that are budgeted for this project. However, it has been brought to our attention that these funds are in jeopardy of being reallocated. Without these funds, this project would be pushed out to 2028 or further, along with the possibility of losing the current support of our generous donors. The community is very excited about the upcoming addition. We believe the splash pad has the ability to draw families not only from LeGrand, but from various surrounding areas as well. This will be a great destination, providing free, wholesome outdoor recreation for families and children of various ages. We appreciate the City Council, City Manager, and the Budget Committee and the time you have put in serving our community. We know that these choices are hard, but hope you will recognize the value of this project and a great addition the splash pad will be to our community. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Joanna Madsen.
Thank you. All right, one last time. Anyone else care to comment?
I'm Brent Clapp. I just want to speak to the positiveness of the public relations push that John has brought. I know most of you very well, and I know most of the people who work for the city of LeGrand. They don't work just for a paycheck. They work because they like what they do. They're serving the public. People are not going to hear those stories unless you tell them. This is the same thing that I tell to companies and corporations. People are not going to hear your story unless you tell them. There are two things that you want when you're communicating. You want engagement and you want content. Content costs money because your employees are doing their jobs and they don't have time to tell their stories. And so you pay for content. Engagement is something that you cannot buy. And thanks to John's enthusiasm, and I don't know, frankly, how long he'll be able to keep that up, but because of his enthusiasm, there is engagement that you simply cannot buy. I would just encourage you that this is a great move. I've spent a lot of time looking at the city of LeGrand. I've spent a lot of time looking at Union County. The efforts to be transparent, the efforts to, I have been frustrated going to a meeting sometime and there's something in front of somebody and there's not simply a QR code for me to scan and be able to see that. And all of that stuff takes money. It has to be assigned to a staff member. They have to make sure it's accessible. That QR code has to be put out. But I'm telling you, all of that effort is worth it. John is absolutely right about this thing. He might be right about a number of things, but I'm telling you that if there's bad news down the road that the city has to communicate to the public, you are currying favor with them right now so that they will swallow that pill better down the road. That's my advice.
Thank you, Brent. Anyone else? I always like to give a little time, make sure. I think we're good? All right, I'm gonna stop taking public comments then. And now we'll get into the meat of the matter. We did have an opportunity last night to kick around the general fund revenue, the council manager and personnel, and the finance and municipal court funds. I said last night that we would reserve making any decisions on those funds until tonight, so let's revisit them, but keep moving pretty quickly. That said, to me, and I don't want to take much of this time, but I want to kind of give people a framework on which to work from. There's the 30,000-foot view of what the budget as a total looks like, how we feel about it, and what kind of decisions we can make about that. And then there's the weeds, where we're picking on line items. Somewhere we need to be, I think, somewhere in between. I don't think we can get. If we want to get in the weeds, I think we give it back to John and department directors and say, you figure it out because you know it much better than everybody else. So with that, are there any items of the general fund revenue and contingency / unappropriated balance fund that we need to consider?
Can we go department by department?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do,
So we're on police right now.
so the first one it would be Heather. Heather's
The
response.
general fund.
Yeah, general fund resources.
I went over it yesterday, so maybe any additional questions?
Yeah, any more?
This is the general fund contingency reserve for future expenditure and unappropriated balance.
General fund.
If I don't hear any questions, I'm going to move on.
Steve, I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea to revisit this toward the end, since that unappropriated ending balance sort of
Takes over.
captures everything else. So to me, this should be the last.
Okay.
Because everything else is going to funnel.
Okay, very good. And Dave, I'm just taking them in order
Sure,
in which they're.
sure.
All right, so we're gonna kind of pause on this one. Council, city manager, personnel budget. Fund.
I just have a question.
Any items on here that?
No, I just have a question. John, you kept talking about the transfer that is in each department coming out of this budget. Is that the 1,800,000?
Yeah, where else?
63,468? Got my glasses. 65. Or because down on below there it says interfund transfers only 286,872. So I know all those things that you said were transferring that were in this budget. I didn't see how that could account. Those two figures don't add up that way, unless I'm wrong.
So the 254,448 do include all those individual departments that asked to transfer into reserves. Plus, it also includes the 50% of unanticipated cash that we had, our ending fund balance that we had, plus that, which just came to 72,448.
Okay.
So Heather, would you say 50% of it is cash to go? So that's a council policy that was established several years ago?
That is correct. Yeah, 50% of unanticipated cash goes back into reserves, 25% stays in the general fund, and 25 goes to street reserve.
Right, so
So this 286 covering all those things that he said that we had in this budget.
That is correct.
Yes, okay. I didn't add it on, so I was just wondering, it seemed like he had more that were transferred. And I thought, why are they transferred? I mean, to make it cleaner, wouldn't it be easier just to put it into their fund instead of putting it into the cities and then transferring it there? Because it's confusing, because you don't see it there. You have to go back and forth and back and forth. Does that make sense?
In the narrative you're saying, and it actually is in the narrative of the city manager, it spells out each individual one.
Right, but I meant when I'm looking down at whatever, I'll just say, police, when you said there was a transfer into it, I had to go back up here to make sure that it's there, I mean, to see if it matches. Does that make sense?
Like what account it's in?
Yeah, what account, yeah. Because here it says, well, here, for one thing, the police say there was no inter-fund transfer.
We don't generally have interfund transfers within each individual department. We have
But
it
it's all
within
in
just
there, so it's not showing in their budget at all then.
no, it's the general fund budget in general.
He has it, but not in each individual, they show no transfer unless
is
they
correct.
transfer money out to the reserve fund.
Well,
Would
it's
that
all
go-
general fund money.
Right, okay.
So we're just taking it out of one department to make the interfund transfer smoother, and you can trace it, because actually if you go to the general reserve fund,
Yeah,
you will see that transfer in
Okay,
as
that-
one big dollar
I did see some
amount.
of that there, and I was just trying, but then I was trying to think, okay, is that gonna match up to this and that?
Oh.
It just gets a little bit more confusing, that's why I was asking.
Yep. And one of the easier things to look at in the city manager council personnel narrative at the very bottom, it talks about this general reserve
Right.
transfer and lists every single one of them.
Right, but, okay,
All right, just a comment in general. Just remember you have a live mic, and if you're having side conversations, that can be picked up.
oh,
As a heads up. All right. Anything else for Heather on this side, on the city manager budget?
Can I ask, just referencing last year, so we had taken a little bit away from what would have been an investment for future infrastructure in order to decrease what was anticipated to be a bit of a deficit that we were running. To my recollection, we did add that money back in at some point during the year. Is that correct?
In the general fund, we just never transferred it out of the general fund. It
Right.
stayed in there.
So, okay, is that reflected at any point in this transfer, or no? Was that part of the unanticipated increase?
No, it's not reflected
Okay,
with this.
so the unanticipated increase is the 286 above and beyond. So
Correct.
after we funneled that back. And I think that's good for this group to remember, because we did pull that amount aside.
was
We did end up
400,000 last
286
year.
ahead of what we had projected.
Correct.
So we could take 72,448, put that back into general fund, rather than putting it into reserve.
What we kind of did last year.
Yeah, kind of like what we did.
That's the move we did last year,
Yeah, right.
to soften the anticipated,
You know,
I don't
and-
want to call it a deficit, it wasn't a true deficit, but the amount that we would have had to pull from reserves.
Because if I remember correctly, the transfer that we were gonna make last year was like $900 and some thousand, that unanticipated cash that we had. And we dropped it down by 400,000.
Right, we had $1 million that we were gonna move.
Heather,
So is anybody considering that 72,4? To
At this
take it
point,
out
no.
of here, or?
Like me, no.
No, I'm not, I'm asking the committee. I mean, it gives us some room to play with things as we go down. If I don't hear anybody raise a concern about.
Can you explain that again?
So, if you look at the, under the comments, very last item, general fund transfers, there's $72,448 of unanticipated increase in general fund cash to be transferred to future capital uses. It has no identified use. We can sweep it back into general fund. It just gives us some money to play with.
maybe we'll keep that in mind while we go through the rest of the budget.
We could do that. All right, just keep that in mind.
So I have a question. with this department, we're making the decision about the allocation between the chamber and the splash pad, right?
That's correct.
And so can you remind me, is this breakdown the one that leaves the chamber operating at reduced levels?
Yes.
So if we retain the 75K for the splash pad,
The chamber does $75,000 less. If you decide to reallocate it, currently it stays with the splash pad.
Okay.
If you change it, it goes to the chamber, and the Parks and Rec does without.
Chambers asked for 120.
They asked for 120, yes.
It's a percentage of estimated TRT funds that we get, which is 36.5%.
Actually, technically, they asked for 125.
Okay.
But historically, we've always put some of that TRT fund into parks.
It depends on the years and what the circumstances, and if I say something wrong, certainly speak up.
Isn't it the last couple of years, though, we put money in from the TRT into parks?
It stays in the general fund for parks use.
That's been that, yeah. And so therefore, it didn't all go to the chamber before either.
No.
It hasn't for many years.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So the
Heather, I have
chamber,
a very quick question. I was a little surprised to see the ARPA funds in this area. I know that we had a discussion about that some years ago when I was still on the council. I can't remember what the reason was for putting it here rather than, say, Public Works.
That money came into the general fund, and I set up a separate specific line within the general fund for better tracking and reporting purposes.
Okay, that's right, thank you.
Those funds will be used this year.
Yep, that's all we have left.
You feel like we've finished the TRT conversation?
I did have one follow-up question, which is, it seemed like in some of the written testimony, it seemed like someone was suggesting they would lose like some of the grant funding, like if our match, the city's match went down. Is that true?
So you want to speak to this? You want me to?
Sure. In case you didn't know, I'm Stu Spence, the Parks and Recreation Director. I don't know everybody in the room necessarily, even though I'm big and loud, I don't know everybody. So, the grant match was the 75,000 was baked into our goal of local fundraising. So we advertised that as a pledged amount, and we advertised that as essentially not needed to raise because it was proposed. However, we have this color-coded green, yellow, red, right? So it's in yellow because it hasn't been approved, but the trick is, if that's in jeopardy, we would lose that amount of match, which is required to write a grant that's due at the end of this month for an additional $300,000.
how much have you raised so far, Stu?
Separate from the 75?
Separate from the 75, 150, sorry, this is hard to do because in my head I have the total with the 75. I think without, it's around 110. We need to get to 200 by the end of this month. So that,
Even with the 75?
so with
we're-
the 75, we're still short. We're still actively fundraising through a variety of different asks around the community. And I'll also take this time to share that over 30 businesses so far have contributed. And I'm worried about it being disingenuous because we've collected this money from them for the splash pad with the goal that we're going to build next spring. If this money gets pulled, that's in jeopardy. I'm not saying that it's impossible. It just makes my job harder. I got to go get that money somewhere, right? So it just means there's more work to do, which isn't impossible, and people may step up. It's just that I'm concerned about the grant deadline at the end of this month.
Sure.
That would bump it a full more year, because the grant funding is only once a year, if that makes sense.
My question though, what are you not going to be doing at the parks that you usually use that money for?
No, it's a separate account. So the money that you're talking about is already into the general fund support for parks operations. It supports parks operations. This is over and above that.
Okay, so it's over and above the because what the city's always given before is from the TRT.
That's correct.
So that's still coming in plus
Right.
this.
So
Okay,
a part of the parks budget is supported by TRT dollars.
Right.
This is a separate capital improvement
Okay.
project. This money was also allocated to the playground project 2 years ago, the 75 from TRT dollars.
Okay.
Which was the exact same model, the same grant. We included that in our match. And it then was successful. Obviously, we have a beautiful new playground.
Gotcha.
Right.
Stu, if someone wanted to donate, how do they donate? Talk to the camera.
Right. So there's a splash pad page on the city website. There's a link right there. Thanks to Korean, we make sure to put the link in there. But it's it's easy to give, and we need all that.
Okay.
Yeah, so, oh,
It's a 60-40, so we're gonna get 60% of the money outside. We need to raise 200 of 500.
so my question is, on this budget summary, TRT allocations is 208,000, yeah? And Chamber wants 125, 75 for the splash pad. That's 200,000. Do we not have enough? Or is it going somewhere else?
The 200,
It's under the council manager and personnel summary, TRT allocations.
It says 208, 846 for parks, tourism facilities, 75K for the splash pad,
I'm wrong, huh?
and 45.
it's correct, part of the remaining of the 120,000 between the 75,000 and the 45,000 that's going to chamber goes towards parks operations, as Stu just mentioned.
Right. So the sum total, the 208 is not the total. That's how much go to park facility. And then there's 75K that goes to splash pad, and the remainder 45 and change.
That is correct,
goes-
yes.
Right.
So in total, for TRT funds, it was 328,000, and then 208 went to Parks and Rec, 75 is going towards splash pad, and the remaining is going towards chamber.
Can I ask a different question? Do you have something like on your website that we could repost and put it on media that we can all share to try to gain that extra money that we need?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just
And
on we're just on the clock, you know what I mean? I have
Yeah,
20,
that's what I'm saying, so we can
25
get it
days
out.
or something, so it's just
Yeah.
stressing me out.
So we can just go to your website and
Of course.
cut
Let-
and
You have a
paste and
Facebook
stuff.
page, yes?
Okay.
Let's stay focused on the budget and not fundraising.
Right, sorry.
I got one question.
Okay.
If we aren't awarded the grant, what happens with the 75K?
If it rolls back in, I guess, Heather.
And then we could reallocate it.
We could reallocate it. It's budgeted to spend, so we could reallocate it to chamber.
And that
Okay.
decision comes in about September, October of the funding.
Understood.
However, I'm confident that we'll get that funding.
Oh, so that would be if we don't get the grant.
Right.
There's no guarantee yet.
Right, it's a grant.
Grant, yeah.
Just need to push it.
Heather, am I correct that TRT funds are earmarked for certain activities, correct?
Yes.
So they must be spent within certain
Tourism,
boundaries. I regret that I feel the committee has been placed a little bit between a rock and a hard place, because we're either choosing to gut chamber. This is a heavy hit to them, right? As a percentage of their budget, this is enormous. Or we upset the community because they don't get a splash pad.
Right.
And it was poorly planned. I regret that we're left with making this decision at the 11th hour, because it's not fair to either group. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to do. We all want the splash pad, but I think it's grossly unfair to the chamber. Historically, we have funded them at a reasonably healthy level. This is a very reasonable ask for them, and we're kind of pulling the rug out.
So I would have to respectfully disagree to an extent in what you're saying. The problems that led to this did not come from the city's lack of planning. This has to do with things that I'd rather not put people's laundry out. And so I can speak to it more than that if you need me to, but what I can say is nobody on our team failed to do what they were supposed to do. So the situation is not created by us. We just made decisions with what information we had after trying to get more information. And when we didn't get that, we made decisions, and my recommendation is that the repercussion is live with the results of what didn't occur.
In my personal view, I have to sort of agree with some of the comments that were made, that I think infrastructure speaks. You know, hanging flyers out, advertising, trying to create, tourism. That's one thing. A splash pad is very visible to the community. It has obvious benefits. I do have questions as we're facing pretty hairy fiscal reality looking at this budget. We have not spoken at all about the ongoing costs of maintaining a splash pad, but any of us who water a lawn realize that water is not free in this community, and nor is maintenance and upkeep. And so can we hear something about what we anticipate the ongoing expenditures of that infrastructure investment being?
Sure. Yeah, so the current structure, the current splash pool is what I'm calling it. The reason it's a pool is because it has 18-inch depth, which means we have to lifeguard it and keep it closed to the community unless we have a lifeguard on duty and they pay to come to the pool. So they enter through the pool, they can go to the splash pool. It has 2 or 3 small toys, which were built 25 years ago, right? So the new splash pad will be set up with timers to limit water use. It's a drain away system, so it's on and off. It disappears in the drain. It does not get recycled. So we save chemical costs, heating costs, pump replacement costs, all the filters and all the things that go along with the water right now because it's reusable. So the model is much less expensive to maintain due to those reasons. So we kept that in mind, of course, with the fiscal reality that we all have. So my professional opinion is that the cost will reduce from all those things in the main pool budget, the expenditures and the chemicals, the heating, the gas that takes to heat, all the things, and the replacement costs. So this one is just more of a straightforward setup. And it's obviously more modern, environmentally tested, and engineered as well.
Do you need a guard for it?
No guard. So it'll be open and accessible as long as we want it to be, any time of day, but it will be on timers. They go maybe 3 to 5 minutes. The water comes on in one specific section. There's age group sections. There's a toddler section, kind of a middle age, as in, like
And
3 to 6 year olds, and
then the
there's
old
like
fart area.
yeah. And then there's Steve taking a shower. No,
Yeah.
there's the older kid section. So each section will have its own timer, if that makes sense, and all that
So you
stuff.
push a button and it turns the water on?
Right. The kid pushes a button, water comes on for 3 or 5 minutes. Kyle and I have been working on this for a bit with the water use side. We think that the water use on the existing is more than the new one will be, because the existing runs constantly for hours at a time. It just stays on.
So you anticipate, am I hearing correctly, a net gain to the budget
Right.
by
With the
changing,
upgrade.
replacing what we
Replacing
currently have?
the other
Yeah.
school.
Right, for all
That's
those
good.
reasons. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay, I think, we're almost getting into some Parks and Rec stuff.
I love it. Come on. Well,
I know. I want to keep us moving through this. So, any more questions for Council Manager?
Oh, sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. So we are replacing that other pool though with the
Right.
splash. That's why I think that's a big important thing
Right.
that people should know. It's
Yep.
not doing an addition, it's replacing.
That's correct.
Yeah,
It will
okay.
be, in the same location. The fence will come down. It'll be fully accessible and free instead of for a cost, et cetera. Yeah.
Steve, will we have some further discussion on this later, or?
We can if we feel like we need to come back to it and take action with it.
With the splash pool, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
don't have,
just to clarify, budget as it is, 75,000 goes to the splash pad and 45,000 roughly goes to the chamber?
Yes,
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
the balance going to Parks infrastructure.
It stays within the general fund for the
Op-
parks.
Operations.
how much did we give to the chamber last year? I guess I could have looked that up.
Yeah, it's in the book.
Well, you can't really tell in the budget because we also gave 119,000 to the Union County Fairgrounds.
Oh, good, okay. No, I just meant the chamber for the TOT.
Approximately 103.
Okay, that sounds right. That is a big cut.
And I know what you're saying, John. I agree with you there.
All right. Moving on now then to Finance and Municipal Court. We went through this one last night. I don't think we had a lot of questions. Anything else?
But the one I was gonna ask about last night, how many people, I mean, how many tickets do we recover at the court?
It has increased drastically. It has increased drastically. Unfortunately, I don't have a total right off the bat. I would say we have court twice a week or twice a month, and we're 15 to 20 tickets each court.
And those were mostly parking?
No, those are strictly just traffic tickets.
Oh, those are traffic.
Mhm.
But some of that money that gets for traffic doesn't stay in the city.
That is correct. A portion of it goes to the state and a portion goes to county. It's not a percentage, it's based on each different citation or violation, how much goes to the state. It's not like a percentage, and I don't know off the top of my head how much. But you'll see that, and that's part of the professional services and fees. Those costs are in there, the money that goes to the state and the county.
So, and the parking tickets don't go into this budget? They're in that section, I mean?
The revenue from it, that comes into the general fund in general, not just, because these are just expenditures.
Right, but I mean, is it showing in the general fund that it's coming from the parking tickets?
Yeah, there is an individual line in the revenue for
Okay, I
parking
just-
tickets. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Jason, good to see you.
You too, Steve.
I hope it stays that way for the next
He's not getting cut.
All right. Questions for Chief Hayes?
Steve, if I may, I have an opening statement.
Certainly.
If you'll abide by me.
Please.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jason Hayes. I'm your new Chief of Police. I've been so for almost 3 months now. So be gentle on me. To lighten the mood a little bit, we as directors make fun of John because sometimes he is a little over-articulate. But I have a 4-page opening statement that I'm going to read quickly so you can pass the crown to me. Good evening, Budget Committee members, City Manager, Directors, staff, members of the media, and community members. First, I would like to thank the City Manager for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight regarding the Police Department budget, specifically the proposed reduction of 2 police officer positions. I want to approach this discussion with transparency while remaining respectful to the City Manager and everyone present this evening. The LaGrande Police Department has a long-standing history of fiscal responsibility. As reflected in our operations and communications budget proposals, our requests this year were focused on maintaining status quo operations and addressing needs rather than wants. I would like to provide some background regarding the circumstances that led to the proposed budget reduction within the police department. For several years, the police department has requested 2 additional police officer positions to help address increasing call volumes and growing complexity of calls for service. Several months ago, the city manager applied for a federal grant intended to fund the 2 additional positions we had requested, which I appreciated. At the time, the grant application was not part of the city manager's fiscal transformation initiative. After the grant applications were submitted, the city manager learned that the grant required the city to permanently maintain the additional positions after the grant funding period ended. Given the city's current fiscal realities, it was determined this would not be financially sustainable. In response, the city manager proposed eliminating 2 currently funded police officer positions in order to remain compliant with the grant requirements. The proposal then became part of the city's FTI, Fiscal Transformation Initiative. I later spoke with Jessica Keys, a representative for U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, and the individual responsible for submitting the grant proposals to the United States Senate. She confirmed what I already understood. These grants are highly competitive, and the likelihood of receiving them is relatively low. When I discussed these concerns with the city manager, I was assured that if the grants were not awarded, 1 or both of the eliminated positions could potentially be restored. However, my understanding is that restoring those positions would still require Budget Committee approval, making this approach uncertain. Additionally, even if the grant-funded positions were awarded, it could take up to 2 years before those officers are hired, trained, and actively covering shifts. As a result, rather than gaining 2 officers, the police department could potentially lose 2 officers for an undetermined period of time. So what would this reduction mean for the police department? Our department is already experiencing increased call volumes, and the nature of those calls have become more complex than ever before, particularly due to the ongoing mental health crisis impacting both our community and the state of Oregon. The city manager has stated that the 2 positions proposed for elimination are currently vacant and have remained vacant since 2013, suggesting the impact would be minimal. Respectfully, I disagree. While those positions have not always been continuously filled, they have been utilized periodically to offset retirements, resignations, and terminations. These positions serve as a critical relief or swing shift positions that allow us to maintain minimal staffing levels. When an officer leaves the department, we are currently able to temporarily backfill that vacancy using one of these positions. Eliminating them removes our operational buffer. Without that flexibility, staffing shortages would require officers to work significantly more overtime to maintain basic day and night shift coverage. In the last 4 months alone, our patrol officers have worked 726 hours of overtime, with 250 of those hours, approximately 34%, specifically dedicated to shift coverage. I admit I have hesitated to discuss these numbers publicly because overtime concerns have also been referenced in discussions about potentially contracting with the Union County Sheriff's Office or moving toward a public safety district. Options that could ultimately jeopardize the future of the police department that has served this community since the 1800s. There are established industry benchmarks regarding police staffing levels per 1,000 residents. Nationally, the average is approximately 2.4 officers per 1,000 citizens. In Oregon, the average ranges between 1.5 and 1.8 officers per 1,000 citizens. At our current staffing level, the LaGrande Police Department operates at approximately 1.54 officers per 1,000 citizens. If these 2 officer positions are eliminated, that number would drop to approximately 1.38 officers per 1,000 citizens, placing us below the recommended staffing levels. The loss of these positions would likely result in increased overtime demands to maintain minimal staffing, more frequent shift coverage gaps during vacations, illnesses, injuries, training, or resignations, potentially slower response times, increased officer safety concerns due to fewer officers responding to dangerous incidents, greater challenges in recruitment and in hiring, since eliminated positions cannot quickly be restored when qualified applicants become available, reduced flexibility to maintain continuity during staffing turnover, and fewer opportunities for proactive policing efforts, including drug investigations, traffic enforcement, crime prevention initiatives, dignitary protection details, and community engagement activities. There is, however, positive news. We have recently updated our recruitment strategies and just a few weeks ago conducted police officer testing that resulted in 3 viable candidates who could potentially fill the vacant positions being discussed tonight. We are closer than we have been in years to becoming fully staffed, although there are no guarantees. If we were able to retain these 2 officer positions, we would be in a much stronger position to improve shift coverage, reduce overtime and employee burnout, conduct proactive drug investigations and other proactive efforts, improve officer safety, enhance response times, allow officers more time for training, investigations, and community engagement, and improve recruitment and retention by creating healthier and more sustainable working conditions. I have also been in discussion with the Union County Sheriff's Office and the Oregon State Police regarding collaborative, proactive drug enforcement efforts moving forward. Maintaining our current staffing levels and filling these vacancies would allow us to actively participate in those efforts. Retaining these officer positions is not simply about maintaining numbers. It is about sustaining operations, improving service quality, supporting employee wellness, and ensuring the department can effectively meet both current and future public safety demands. The LaGrande Police Department wants to be part of the solution to the city's fiscal challenges. However, I will be honest in saying that the fiscal transformation initiative and strategic plan as currently presented lack clarity from my perspective. At times, it feels unclear what the long-term objectives truly are. I mean no disrespect in saying that. I also believe there was insufficient collaboration between the city manager and department directors regarding proposed budget reductions. The police department is currently facing a proposed reduction of approximately 6% of its budget, while the perception exists that other departments are not facing similar reductions despite continued spending increases elsewhere. I would appreciate greater clarity regarding the goals of the FTI beyond reoccurring discussion of eliminating departments, forming special districts, or implementing drastic structural changes. If the police department is asked to make reductions, I am willing to do my part. I have served this department for more than 27 years and have successfully navigated budget reductions before. What I ask is simple. Before decisions are made regarding cuts to the police department, allow me and my staff to be part of the conversation. Provide us with target reduction amount or percentages, and allow us to help determine where those reductions can best be made while balancing community expectations, staffing realities, personnel costs, and operational needs. I also think that any reductions be approached equitably among all departments with collaboration and shared responsibility between the city manager and department directors as we address the city's fiscal realities together. If the committee ultimately feels that reducing police officer positions is necessary given the city's current fiscal environment, then I respectfully ask that you consider a compromise by reducing only one police officer position instead of two. Doing so would still represent an approximately 3% reduction to the police department's general fund budget and would save the city an estimated $150,000 annually, while also assisting the city manager in meeting the objectives of the fiscal transformation initiative. At the same time, retaining one of the positions would help preserve some operational flexibility, reduce the overall impact on staffing levels, and better position the department to continue meeting the public safety needs of our community. We want to be part of the solution. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Hearing none, thank you.
Chief Hayes, actually, I was really glad to hear that you recommended just a single reduction, because I was kind of wondering if that could be a compromise. So I was wondering if we could perhaps discuss what that might look like.
Thank you, Chief. I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to make a motion, and then I'm going to let it sit out there. I move that the two police positions be reinstated and that the city manager be instructed to find the resources and other budget items within the overall budget.
Second.
All right. Jason, excuse me, Chief.
It's quite all right.
No. You hit on a number of things that I was immediately concerned about, particularly when it came to the grant. The first thing was the possibility of not getting the grant and what the implications would be. If the grant was successful, the prorated amounts, it would go down over time, and ultimately that we would be back in the same situation that we have. You added an element that I had not realized. I know it's been difficult to fill those two positions for 12 years. And I know they've been on again and off again in terms of having people in them. What I didn't realize is that you use them to backfill. And knowing that adds an element of importance for me. So I've made a motion and we have a second. Any conversation about this?
Yeah, I'm really disappointed that we can't even discuss the option of a compromise.
I'd rather have a compromise.
Yeah.
Compromise before there was a motion.
Based on the overall
Because there are
budget
things that
situation.
you may not know.
Ricky Joe, and you're right. I mean, there's a lot that I don't know. I know only about what we've been presented here. and what little Chief Hayes has presented.
And I think Chief Hayes, I think you did an exceptional job, and I think it was very respectful.
Thank
I
you.
think the article in the newspaper was fairly written. I think there's a lot more to this than what has been presented.
So there is a motion and a second. I respect what you guys have said. We can vote on this. If it fails, then there's an option to bring it up again.
Steve, there may still be some discussion to be had before we
Yeah.
bring this to a vote.
Certainly, certainly. I mean, I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to call for the motion now, but I'm open to having conversation about this.
Chief, I appreciate the data, especially the comparative data of what is typical in the US and in Oregon. I think that's helpful.
Thank you.
I have a question. Why jump to that so quickly, Steve, before we could even discuss? I know that's probably your opinion, what you wanted to do, but we needed to discuss that and not just
So
jump
you guys
right
can
into
discuss
emotion.
it now.
Right.
Have your opinion, discuss it.
Right.
And then whoever wants to call the motion, we can go through the motion. If you don't agree, you can decline it. And then you can discuss some more. Somebody else can come up with another motion.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind, just to keep the conversation flowing in a good direction.
I'm curious what the case is for retaining 2 positions versus 1.
We've had those positions for a number of years. They've been there.
But not for a long time, Steve.
But they've been here for 12 years. The unfortunate thing is that we've not been able to fill them.
Oh yes, the positions have been there, but they haven't been filled.
Right.
And because they haven't been filled, you fill them and somebody else leaves and you're still back in the same position. I mean, it's not that, there's no guarantee those people are going to stay either.
But what was the tipping point for me is when Chief Hayes said, we use those positions to backfill. When we lose somebody else, we have an opportunity to put it in. It's tough enough to keep our force at a certain level.
But recognize too that if you hire somebody new, you're going to have how many months out for training?
Right.
Going to the.
Right, well, we've always got that.
That's right. But right now, they're all trained, correct?
Correct. The training period is roughly 7 months before they're solo and covering a shift.
Okay.
If they don't have prior law enforcement
And of
experience.
course, and the grant is for how long? How many years is the grant, if we get the grant?
The one that's currently in motion and we've moved to is actually for a single year. In the near term, we're going to be putting in for another one that would be for 3 years. And it's 100% on the 3-year one, it's 100% the first year, 75% the second year, and 50% the third year. And what I would like to add to that is the purpose of that is to be able to give more life to the fiscal transformation initiative. So it isn't a matter of I want it to go away, it's a matter of giving us maximum opportunity for that to succeed. And I have not found yet, we're still looking, but I've not found any other ways that offers me this level of money that we can contribute back, that we have the potential to contribute back into the general fund. And so all of the things that he said are information that we took into consideration. Our assessment is that this was considering the totality of the circumstances. If those positions would have been filled, never would have had the conversation. We would have just simply stopped the grant application that we had, because he's right. When we first put in for it, the intent was to try and get after the drug administration stuff. But as the fiscal situation worsened, I realized that would be completely untenable for us to be able to maintain it past the life of whatever grant that we got. So therefore, it wouldn't make sense for us to hire somebody to have to fire them or to lay them off. From my perspective, the way I see it is the most fiscally responsible thing to do. Not what I like to do, not what I want to do. The most fiscally responsible thing to do is to pull those positions for what's intended to be 1 year, bring them back, and have other people's money paying for it versus our own.
And that grant is something you said was highly hard to get or unlikely to get?
The one that he's aware of, that's the indication that it gave. That being said, we made it through the first gate, which was an accomplishment in and of itself. So we are in consideration. I would say in the sea of ones that made through the gate, we're one of the lower cost ones. So I would argue that that improves our odds of getting it versus the ones that are asking for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars more than we are.
So
Grant
I
cover
just-
salary and training, or is the training separate from the grant? What does the grant cover?
My understanding is the grant would only cost the personnel cost, not
Yes,
the
correct.
training and.
That's correct. Within that grant also, though, we also have money for a new patrol car and there's some other miscellaneous, and for the communications as well.
And very quickly, Josh, I don't think I gave you a full answer. If we pull the money, it's gone, right? If we leave those two positions in there, at least the money is there. If we eliminate them, even with the grant, we're going to have to put the money back in eventually. And my belief is that if we keep them, we at least have them, and if we don't fill them, the money just rolls over. And at least it's still there.
So we're preserving flexibility.
Yes.
I get the need to have the flexibility of having extra officers, and it seemed like retaining one role would maintain that flexibility, also reduce the overtime liability from eliminating two. So, that does strike me as an attractive solution.
Okay.
Gary? Yeah, can I give a little history as far as grants? Because we've talked about this
Sure.
in the past.
Yes.
We have considered going out for grants to cover police officer positions in the past when I was on the council. We made a deliberate decision not even to try for them because not only were they difficult to get, but they don't last very long. They're time limited, which is very typical of grants. So if they last even 3 years, they're gone, and they usually cannot be renewed. I don't believe that they can be renewed at all. So then you're faced with having to come up with money somewhere if you want to maintain those positions. And that's the reason we decided not to do it at the time. So just a little background.
I would like to remind everybody, though, that the lens that I asked everybody to look through here was the Fiscal Transformation Initiative. What I'm asking you to do is give me time to make it work. And this gives me time to make it work. Or it's a contributing factor to help make it work. There is no perfect solution, and there's nothing that's going to make everybody completely happy. What I'm trying to do is give us maximum opportunity to be able to change our revenue reality and get relief that solves the problem that we all agree needs to be solved in regards to personnel situations there. I'm asking them to live how they've been living a little longer. Yes, we're taking away a little bit of backfill coverage, but we have to cut something somewhere, and this is one of the few areas where I have the opportunity to bring in money to help solve the problem. And that's the kind of hard decision I'm asking you to make.
Are you talking about bringing in grant money to solve the problem?
Yes, to help solve the problem, to give us time for that revenue generating reality.
Can I ask, how many years now has it been that we have not had it filled?
Have the positions filled? Our stats through our research suggest that they have not been filled. When I say they haven't been filled, for the most part, since 2012, they may have a surge of a short period of time, a few months, where they were actually there, and then it dropped off again. So if you look at consistency, we have not been consistently since 2012.
How many times have both positions been filled in that time? Not just one.
I'm going to have to ask my human resource person if she's here to if she's able to speak to that.
Based on what I was looking
Can you step up to Mike?
Thank you.
You'll probably just come right here.
Hi, Tammy, HR. In my research and in running through all of the hirings, terminations, coming and going, it looks like maybe twice during the last 14 years roughly have we enjoyed what appears to be a full capacity, but then people don't always make it through training. There's a whole lot of reasons, other natural attrition, and so then you end up back in that same situation again.
And how many years have we have we had somebody in training? Almost every year there's people in training, isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're kind of minus a police officer at that point too.
Correct. We're down 2 that are at the police academy right now, not filling shifts.
But they're when are they finished?
End of June, I believe.
So they're close to being close. I know they have.
Just
When they come back,
That's not FTO.
when they come back, they're not on their own though, for how long?
Yeah, it would be another 3 months
Okay.
before they're on their own.
Do we pay for their police academy training?
No.
They pay for it?
We pay for just their wages while they're gone, but we don't have to pay any registration costs or anything through the academy. That's funded through the state of Oregon.
Megan?
Yeah, John, I'm trying to follow the long-term thinking of what you're talking about with the FTI. So in this proposal, we cut these 2 authorizations. You're saying we give room for your plan to come to life. What does that look like for the police department? Is that long-term grant funding, or is that the creation of a special
No.
district? Like, what's the specific thinking for
Yeah.
the police department?
So I'm not looking at it just as the police department. I'm looking
Yeah.
at it as an organization. That being said, the grant funding, acknowledged fully, there's no guarantee that we get the funds. Simultaneously, the plan itself is intended to be a 5-6 year plan. And admittedly, when we're looking at the pressures that we're seeing on our general fund right now, again, in the plan, it gives thresholds of when we reach a point in time where we have to accelerate the actions that we're taking within that plan. This bringing in money by grants, if we are successful in getting them, gives us the opportunity to get 3 years of not having to potentially up to 3 years, maybe 4, depending on how these 2 different submissions work. Potential of giving us time where we're getting some relief on our general fund to have those paying, acknowledging fully that on the other side of it, we're going to pay the costs completely on our own. But
where
the
does that
intent is,
where does that money come from in this logic?
which part?
After the 3 years.
Oh, it comes from the general fund. We go right back to where we're at right now.
And we have to
But the intention by doing it the way that I'm asking for it to be done is to give us time to make the other plan solve our general fund problems, so that then it's not going to be the same kind of pressure that it is currently. So admittedly, it's not desirable. No, I don't expect anyone to like it. But in a sea of difficult decisions, this to me is the most responsible thing that we could be doing, because I'm not asking the police department to do something that they haven't been doing for the last 12 years. I'm asking them to bear with us 1 more year. Admittedly, it'll take time to hire and get people into those positions again, but I'm asking them to bear with us and help us make this fiscal transformation initiative successful.
John, what if the grant funds aren't forthcoming? What's your plan then?
Then the intention would be for us to revisit that again in the budget season. One way or another, we're going to be revisiting this topic again next year. My hope is that we're going to be revisiting it with grant funding that's going to make this conversation a whole lot more simplistic. If we are more successful than I wouldn't even say, I think we have the opportunity to get a lot more grants, or at least be moving towards grants. But again, I can't guarantee anything. But if everything unfolds successfully the way that we want it to in the first year, we could start seeing evidence that's suggesting we're moving the right direction. That gives us optimism and the ability to make different decisions. But as much as I would like to say it's a perfect and guaranteed plan that's going to give us the results that we want, I'm optimistic in regards to it, but I also realize I could be failing this organization completely. But I can tell you I'm not doing it or making the decisions that I am because I'm trying to fail. I'm doing it because I believe this is the best path to solving the problem that needs to be solved.
What about the proposed compromise of removing 1 position?
What I can say is we can do that, but then I can never get the relief that we would have gotten if we'd have gone with 2. Sure. But 1 is better than 2, and I would support that. Whatever the decision is made here, what I can say that is the threat is if you don't do it, you're accelerating how fast we have to ask the community to increase their taxes. you're accelerating how fast we have to ask the community to be willing for us to cut services across the city. And the majority of our community right now, through these engagements that I'm doing, has indicated that they're already not happy with our services. So if we accelerate to the point in time where I am now just simply cutting those services in order to balance the budget the way that we would prefer it to be balanced, well then we can do that. That's a way to do business. What I can tell you is what I'm lining out for you in the path and all that we have written and that we've developed is a path that protects and gives us maximum amount of time to get to a place where we could possibly achieve this without even having to increase taxes. But if we get there, the community is going to be able to know with confidence that we've done the best that we can. To include, what comes up regularly is, why aren't you getting grant monies to cover these costs? Well, I can go back in all these civic engagements and say, we've done it, we went after it, didn't get it, or we got it, and here's how it's helping us.
So my perspective on this, we're looking at what could potentially be spending $6 million more than we are bringing in, and eating through the vast majority of the amount that we have in reserve. And we're talking about adding staff positions. I think the conversation should be around hiring freezes. Hopefully not, but the only way I possibly see that number getting to a reasonable level is probably involving a reduction in staff. And so I think we've lost sight of what we're actually doing here. This is the tune of $250,000 is what we're talking about. That's the impact on the budget of these two positions. We're already, you saw the number.
Yeah.
You see what we're facing here. I think this is crazy that we're talking about adding $300,000 to that, and I understand what it means to the police department, but there are hard decisions that are going to have to be made in this room and by every director within this organization, because this is not sustainable by any stretch of the imagination. And if you look at the whole reason that we've been able to maintain the funding we have is precisely because those positions haven't been filled. The majority of the dollars that we have, we budget this and, oh, hey, look, we spent less. Why did we spend less? The primary reason, Heather, you gave it to us. Because we've had unfilled staff positions. Had those staff positions been filled, we'd have been in this hole a lot sooner than we have. So I would suggest that we maintain sight of what is actually happening here with the dollars in this city before we go and peddle about one position, two positions. That's $250,000. So please keep that in mind. It's not going to be easy, and I appreciate what you're talking about, John. There is fiscal responsibility that has to happen. And that may very well come to the tune of, this is not going to be about who are we going to hire, what positions are we going to maintain. It's about, can we even maintain what we have without having to lose city staff positions and maintain the fiscal, we have to pass a balanced budget. That is Oregon law. We can do it because we have reserves. Otherwise, we couldn't pass it. We would be looking at $5 million to carve out of our expenditures if we didn't have these reserves. This buys us 1 year time if we pass the budget as stated. And next year now we're talking about finding millions of dollars somehow that we can cut out of the budget. You know what that means? That means personnel cuts, period. There is no other way to do it. So please keep that in mind. I beg of the people around this table.
I agree with you, Dave, 100%.
And the council in our retreat, our top priority was fiscal responsibility. I'm just going to remind everyone of that.
We can't spend the money. We have to keep some of it in reserve.
Yeah.
One other point that I had with several of the budgets, but on the police, is, we're paying so much in salaries. I think they earn what they make. But in benefits, FICA, pension, unemployment, medical, dental, we're paying $53,000 per year per FTE. That is part of their package, and the city is very generous, and I'm proud of that. But I think that we also need to understand that it's quite generous. just medical, dental, and vision is $23,000 a month, or $23,000 per FTE per year, which is $2,000 a month. Just for perspective.
So I'd like to call for the question.
Okay.
I'd like roll call.
Roll call vote. So do you want to repeat your?
Repeat it back?
Yeah, I would repeat your motion back that you
Yes.
have.
You want me to repeat it?
Yeah, because you have it.
I think the motion was that we restore the 2 police positions and that we direct the city manager and budget officer to find the resources and other line items of the budget.
Okay, so we're going to start with the roll call vote. Josh Bachman?
No.
Matt Barber?
No.
Steve Clemens?
Yes.
Reen Dudo?
No.
David Glabe?
No.
Ricky Joe Hickey?
No.
Megan Keating?
No.
Molly King?
No.
Gary Lillard?
No.
Marianne Miesner?
No.
Justin Rock? No. Tony Smith?
No.
Denise Wheeler?
No.
Motion fails. Conversation starts over.
So what do you want to do? You want to leave it in there, leave the budget the way it is, or do you want to consider Chief Hayes's compromise of eliminating 1 position?
You can put the.
I'd like to leave it the way it is.
I like the idea of a compromise.
Do you want to put that motion
You
up?
want to put that motion up?
I move that we make a compromise along with Chief Hayes's letter that we reinstate 1 position and look for cuts elsewhere.
Second.
Discussion?
I think we've still fallen to the same issue that we had now. There's no guarantee that next year will be cut again or more. So I'm going to still say no.
I don't know where we find $150,000 to cut.
Right. So.
Can you find that in your budget, Chief?
You give me an opportunity, I'll find it for you. I have not been given that opportunity.
And that, I mean, we should consider that. If
you can find it before we actually vote on the budget next month, we might consider it.
So how would that work if the budget committee votes to reinstate 1 position and we direct Chief Hayes to find the money within his existing budget? How does that work? He does it, and that's the budget that's presented?
Can I throw something into the conversation?
Yes.
I think asking him, we actually did have some limited conversation about the opportunity for him to find an alternate way for him to pull this money from the budget. From that conversation stemmed a reminder from Heather that what we should do is come together as a team to discuss what that overall cut would look if we're not going to do it with FTEs. So I would propose that if you're expecting that to be cut, that we share that as a city, not just as a police department.
I agree.
Yes, and to Chief's point, I don't want any department to feel like they're targeted. As we look at what we have to do to balance the budget in the city, and I would hope that no director feels like, oh my gosh, we've been singled out on something. And so I think, yes, we're dialed in on what the police department's budget is, but we have to view this under the whole umbrella of the general fund. And so I would suggest that instead of doing this in isolation, it would be reasonable for this council to say, we're not comfortable necessarily cutting 2 positions. Maybe we want to say, okay, 1, we understand some of this, but we now need to go and talk about this. And I guess my other question is, how many other departments do we have that have unfilled staff positions? Because one of the hard decisions that we may have to make is putting a hiring freeze out at some point.
We have to balance it. Are there any other staff positions open?
Yes, there are.
Are we putting a freeze on them?
Well, I've placed a freeze on the organization and that they all have to come submit requests to me before making offers. And then I make decisions based off of where we're at the time and what I understand the circumstances to be.
I'd like us to keep focused on police.
I know, but that might go into the equation of how we feel.
Yeah, I certainly feel like it's a lot more equitable to kind of share the burden a little bit rather than giving it all to the chief. If we can maintain one position for him and find the cuts throughout the whole organization, might make it a little more bearable for everybody.
We do have a motion, correct?
We have a motion and
And it was
second.
seconded.
Yes.
But we're discussing the motion,
Yes.
really.
Right.
And
I feel like we're just going in circles. I think it should come to a vote.
So we'll call the question.
ask for a question. Yep. Roll call, please.
Okay, Josh Bachman,
Sorry, what was the motion again?
to reinstate one position.
And
Without the whole question, what I'm uncertain about is the additional cuts, are they coming from the police department or broadly across the city?
I didn't specify that in my
Okay.
original motion, so I can put forth, I don't know, can I put forth a different
You could
motion? I
amend
don't
your
know how to
motion.
amend it.
You could amend your motion.
Okay, so the amended motion would be that we reinstate one position and the organization finds cuts for the second position elsewhere, like to cover the cost of the second position elsewhere.
Got it, thank
Or,
you.
I mean,
I would
sorry,
agree to second that
That one
also.
position.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm unclear. Are you saying we're going to agree to fund one position in full and allow the organization
Yes.
to, if
To-
they can find
Other cuts
But,
elsewhere.
I mean, I don't know that this committee doesn't, we decide a number on the budget. We don't decide the number of personnel that a department gets, right? Like, I mean, I want to be clear about
That's
that.
true.
That's not what this committee does. So we don't say whether that number applies to personnel or other things. We have to pass a budget at the end of the day.
Right.
So I'm not sure that motion is relevant to what we're doing as much as we can say, hey, we're not comfortable, we passed this budget on the contingency that we retain a police officer position, at least two.
I would have to also add to that if we agree that that's the requirement that you want us to go with, which we can do, it actually negates the rest of this process. Because now we have to go and relook at everything we've given to you, and it's going to change everything that we've given to you.
So then we just keep it simple as in we reinstate.
I'm just because it's simple doesn't mean it's necessarily the right thing to do. I hesitate to tell you what you think is right. My preference would be that we stick with what was proposed, the proposed budget. But in all fairness, if you're going to give us direction to do it, then I think it's most fair for the organization for us to all get together and discuss that. And whatever answer we come back with is going to change everything.
Yes. So then the motion needs to be, I just would like to I move to reinstate one position, and that's it?
Keep it simple.
Keep it there. Okay, I move that we reinstate one position.
Who had the second?
I did.
Okay. That's the motion to reinstate one position.
Call for the question. Josh Bachman,
No.
did you say no?
No.
Matt Barber,
Yes.
Steve Clemens,
No.
Green Dudo,
No.
David Glabe,
No.
Ricky Joe Hickey,
Yes.
Megan Keating,
Yes.
Molly King,
No.
Gary Lillard,
Yes.
Marianne Miesner,
No.
Justin Rock, Tony Smith, Denise Wheeler.
No.
Motion fails.
All right, so we are back to where it was presented to us. I think we need a bit of a break. We're going to take 5 minutes. We're coming back at 1:15. Doesn't give you much time. And then we're either going to move through this one and go to the next fund, or we're going to hash this out. Right? 5 minutes. Okay.
you know, there was thoughtful conversations going back and forth. That's what I was. Like, just think about this thing. Make a decision. Just be.
I promise I
That would be sad.
There's one thing that
What would you do?
like for us to follow.
You just have to.
A little disappointed in what I'm saying. And I felt with this.
It's sturdy.
So I'll share it with you. Chance. Not, I don't care.
And then
Chance to talk.
good job.
But what I mean,
Like a mortar and
get
pestle.
rid of the gremlins, that way you're not carrying around. So I just want to make sure we talk about it.
Wow. Okay. All right, you ready? Okay, so the question I have now is, do you want to talk about the police department fund anymore, or do you want to move on to fire and EMS?
Move on.
I'm hearing move on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Fire and EMS. Questions? Concerns?
He's got a 10-page
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I can outdo Jason, but I do have a statement if you would listen here. Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members, budget committee members, and city manager. The Grande Fire Department's mission is to protect the lives and property of our community through emergency response, fire prevention, public education, and community assistance programs. Guided by the values of service, compassion, integrity, teamwork, and courage, the department provides fire suppression, ambulance support, transport, rescue response, inspections, training, mutual aid services throughout the area. Our firefighters, paramedics, and EMT staff work every day to provide reliable emergency services to help keep our community safe. The proposed budget reflects the department's ongoing effort to maintain a high level of emergency preparedness, improve firefighter safety, support employee wellness, and address increasing operational demands. This budget also focuses on maintaining reliable equipment, enhancing training opportunities, and preparing for future service needs while remaining fiscally responsible. As the department continues to mature and staffing levels stabilize, we anticipate seeing more static costs and potential reductions in some budget areas over time. We will continue to actively look for opportunities to reduce costs, improve efficiency, and responsibly manage public funds while maintaining the service levels our city council and community expects. Operating a 24-hour all-hazard emergency response department is complex and comes with significant operational challenges, but it is also a responsibility we take seriously. As fire chief, it is an honor to lead this dedicated staff and to serve the citizens of our city and county. I can address, John talked about there are increases and decreases, and if you'll allow me, I'd like to expand on those a little bit and just talk about each one. I know I answered some questions that you guys were able to read, so hopefully this will just confirm what we talked about in those questions. So overtime, planned leave, as it is referred to in the narrative, is additional overtime funds because we know protected leave will occur in the upcoming fiscal year. While we cannot predict the exact timing, we must plan for its impact on staffing. This protected leave combined with our regular planned leave creates a staffing need. Like I mentioned before, we are staffed at 6 firefighters per day and allow the group to drop down to 5. While this is not the best for the community, it softens the overtime burden. With protected leave, we have to allow our staff the time off regardless of any other leave already on the books. Preparing with extra overtime dollars is a responsible way to maintain service levels without compromising our workforce. The overtime budget reflects the need to maintain minimum staffing levels so we can continue providing emergency services to our community every day. A large portion of the overtime is required under federal law as part of our regular firefighter schedule. While additional overtime is needed to cover vacations, protected leave, staffing shortages, and positions that still require paramedic or officer level trained people. Although we have recently added positions to help with increasing call volume, it takes time to fully train and certify new staff, and our casual EMTs cannot fully cover firefighter shift trainings because they are only EMS-only personnel with limited availability. We currently operate on a 48-96 shift schedule, which helps reduce overtime opportunities and improve staffing efficiency. But overtime still occurs when we need to maintain safe firefighter and paramedic staffing levels. Changing the shift schedule is not the answer to reducing overtime. The best long-term solution is improving retention, stabilizing staffing levels, and continuing to develop more paramedics and acting captains within the department, which will help reduce our reliance on overtime as the organization continues to grow and mature. Workers' comp, we had an increase there. Heather can probably talk more to that, but it's just a increase in the fire services workers' comp.
Yes, the fire service specifically had a rate increase, and that's happening pretty much everywhere. I think it's due, I can't tell you for sure, but an increase in workers' comp claims in the fire service, not just for us, but in general.
Right. Legal, labor negotiations, we're starting to wrap those up, so we will not need any legal counsel, so this budget item will decrease by 11,000 there. Medical exams. The increase in the medical exams line reflects the rising cost of required employee medical evaluations and health screenings. These exams are essential to making sure firefighters and EMS personnel are medically fit to safely perform their duties and continue providing quality emergency services to the community. This funding helps support the health, safety, and long-term wellness of department personnel. The computer system maintenance and repair, this is part of the cost that is throughout the city that each department has. Ours was about $8,900 in there. Training, travel, and meetings. The proposed increase for training, travel, and meeting expenses represents a strategic investment in building the department's long-term operational readiness and internal staffing capacity. A significant portion of this funding supports paramedic education for current employees, which is essential due to the ongoing difficulty in recruiting certified paramedics, and will help reduce overtime costs as more personnel become qualified for shift coverage. And then we also have the acting captains that are responsibilities that fall into that. This budget line also includes all required fire and EMS certifications, recertifications, specialized training, and associated travel necessary to maintain compliance and service levels. While this represents a temporary increase, the department anticipates these costs will decrease in future years as additional personnel complete certification programs and the department gains greater staffing flexibility and operational efficiency. The increase from $65,000 to $75,000 also includes a $5,000 forcible entry prop and $5,000 lifetime simulator agreement for the iSimulate training program, which enhances hands-on EMS and scenario-based training opportunities for department personnel. Departmental supplies. Turnout, and this revolves around the turnout gear. I think there was a question on that. Turnout gear is mandatory protective equipment with a strict 10-year service life. To stay compliant and ensure firefighter safety, we must replace a set number each year so gear does not expire in service. Turnout replacement are not discretionary and cannot be postponed without risking safety and operational readiness. We have one of our captains who's in charge of the uniforms, medical supplies, turnouts, and he has a schedule for these turnouts to be replaced. Facilities repair. The increase in facilities repair reflects the ongoing maintenance needs of a facility that is now more than 25 years old, or right at 25 years old. Funding is included for required fire sprinkler system upgrades, parking lot asphalt and concrete repairs, and other routine but necessary maintenance projects that help ensure the safety of the department, personnel, and the community. This line item also supports annual unplanned maintenance needs that are essential to preserving the functionality and reliability of the department's facilities. Equipment and improvements. The equipment and improvements increase, which is $40,000, which is what a striker gurney costs, which is a lot. It's amazing what they cost. Includes funding for a new striker ambulance stretcher to ensure all 4 ambulances are equipped with compatible equipment and operationally ready. This purchase will allow the department to maintain a rotating reserve stretcher system similar to what we do with our ambulances, where we rotate them out, and we could do the same with these stretchers. This will improve reliability, reduce downtime, and allow the reserve ambulance to be placed into service quickly during vehicle maintenance or unexpected breakdowns. This investment supports responder safety, patient care continuity, and overall operational readiness for the community. Included with this budget, but not shown here, I think we talked about it earlier, is the $50,000 for goes into the general fund for future ambulances, which we try to do that every year so that we're not caught off guard. As you know, an ambulance is upwards of $275,000 to $300,000 now, so it's quite a cost, but it does help us, the community, brings in revenue, and we need to do those things. The other thing that is in there is a part-time receptionist that we've requested. The proposed part-time receptionist position is intended to improve customer service and operational efficiency within the department. This position will assist with daily administrative functions such as answering phones, assisting walk-in visitors, scheduling appointments, filing, and supporting billing and payroll processes, allowing administrative staff to remain focused on higher-level operational responsibilities. This position will also support data entry and records management efforts, helping the department capture important metrics that improve reporting, planning, and organizational decision-making, which we need right now to help us. So, that's all I have. I just wanted to touch on everything that I can entertain any questions that you
Question
might
for
have.
Chief?
I have a question. Do we still operate under third ambulance out?
We have 2 that are staffed to go out. We try to keep 2 paramedics on staff at all times and send 2 out. We call back for a third one. If we have 6 people in the station, we can staff 3 ambulances, depending on if there's vacations, sick leave, people off.
So we consistently can do 2.
2 consistently, yep.
And then sometimes we can offer that third one.
Yes.
Are
that's
there
correct.
any private ambulance services in Union County?
No private. There's an ambulance service in Elgin, and there are BLS, ILS, BLS service, and then one in Union, which has the same.
Like for transport, I'm thinking like transporting to Boise. Do we do any of that?
We don't have anything. We do have, there are companies that do come in, you know, if we can't fill one, they might get one from another city, but.
Do we do that?
We do if we can staff it. We try to do whatever we can for our community, and that's part of it, is getting our community members to higher level of care if need be. It depends on how many people we have staffed for that day.
Right.
Part of the whole fire department ambulance service is just, and our captains, our acting officers, acting captains do a great job of protecting you, but also helping get people to where they need to go. So,
And I have that you anticipate on bringing in $1,378,000 through
through
the
ambulance
various
billing.
Yeah, ambulance, and there were like 3 or 4 line items.
The medic one.
Mhm. So as we look at this number, it is offset.
Somewhat, yes.
Somewhat.
We do bring in revenue.
That's one of the reasons why we're looking at bringing in that part-time employee as well to help make sure that that revenue gets achieved.
Regarding that, though, why are you estimating that the ambulance collections are going to be down $300,000 this year?
That is something that I would have to get you more information on.
Some of it has to do with personnel reasons that are kind of private. And so I'd rather not put people's business out there. But it's had an effect on our ability to be able to process in the way that we need to.
And also, we did have a delay in, excuse me, GEMT collections. We didn't know if we were going to get them, so the estimate may be a little higher than what we're estimating. But it's taking a while. I believe it was the 23, 24 GEMT dollars that we just got.
What are those?
Can you explain?
I figured that might come up, and I want to read it to you because it's
GMT?
Yeah, it's called the Ground Emergency Medical Transportation, or GMT, is a federal Medicaid supplement payment program that helps ambulance services recover the true cost of transporting Medicaid patients. Medicaid reimbursement alone does not cover the actual cost of providing emergency medical care, and GEMT allows us to claim additional federal dollars to close that gap.
So it's federal funding?
Yes, it's federal money.
And is that still happening,
the
or
state,
is it
yes.
being cut?
The state are the ones that run the program.
Yeah.
They get the federal money.
And then it takes a while, as most
yeah.
federal dollars do, to get to us. But yes, we're continuing to apply for those.
Yeah, and we have to pay administrative fees to the state. So these funds are essential to maintaining our staffing, equipment, and emergency response readiness. However, GMT payments often take several months to be processed and received. I would say year? Could be more than that to process the payments. Because of this delay, we budget the expected GMT revenue in advance each fiscal year to ensure we can sustain operations while we wait for the reimbursement to arrive. GMT does not increase costs for patients or require additional state or local tax dollars. It simply allows us to access federal funds we are already eligible for, helping reduce pressure on the general fund and supporting a stable EMS system for our community. So it's a good program. It just takes time. It's
Good to have. For perspective, I think Medicaid pays about 50 cents on the dollar for what it costs us to deliver at the hospital.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So.
One thing I wanted to point out, training, travel, meeting expense, it divides out to over $3,200 per FTE. When we have a new hire, and we pay for their training to a point, yes?
Yeah, we do most of the training in-house. If you talk, they do go for paramedic training. We require them to be paramedics in a certain amount of time, in 3 years. And so we help them go to school if they so choose. We do. It's about $18,000.
If we do that, do they have to sign a contract to stay with us for a certain period of time?
That is correct.
How long is that?
Yeah. I believe it's 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And
That's
then
reasonable.
And it's prorated, if they decide to leave at a certain time.
And they pay us back.
They're
right?
required to
They
pay
do
that.
have the option to
Yeah.
pay for it themselves.
Sure.
And we give them the time to go, but if they pay for it themselves, then that obligation is no longer there.
That makes sense, yeah.
It's not rare, it's not taken very often, that option, but it is
Right.
taken occasionally.
That's not that unusual across different industries where you pay to
Yeah.
train, that you need to make sure that they stay.
It's a good program. It's where, we just had one pass his test. He's a new paramedic. He's out there tonight, providing service and getting his training going. It takes, 3 to 6 months to get them released. We don't let them go out there and provide service till they're ready. And that's important for, you as them, our crew members, and also the community they serve, to make sure they're released, ready to provide the care that you guys expect. So,
How many of our firefighters right now are paramedics?
paramedics, we're down to, we only got 4, 6, so 12.
12 of them out of the.
Yeah, and then 13 with me.
So you have a couple in.
Yes, we have one that's currently in training. There's one that is about ready to take his state test. And then we have 2 that'll go in September, and then we're there. So we need to I ask that we just stay the course. Retention, the stabilization of our staff is gonna help to bring some of that overtime down, and just, we gotta retain people. We cannot, every time one of them quits, goes somewhere else, resigns, we have to start all over, every time.
I agree
And-
with the overtime, because I complain about this every year.
Right.
$190,000
Yeah.
in overtime, yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Insane.
Yep,
And-
and it's just, some of it's, the FLSA, we have training that's involved in that, sometimes we have to mandatory training, so we can get the proper training. We do all kinds of training. But then there's the stuff that's not planned, that it's part of doing business, running a 24/7 emergency services agency. So we don't like it, but it's how we have to operate. So
This is a conservative estimate on your overtime?
yes, we plan
Higher. No,
ahead.
it's a worst case scenario.
Worst case
Worst-
scenario.
okay.
Yeah. So you look at that number, it looks high. We don't want to get there if we don't have to. I don't want to come back here and ask you guys for money. I think David brought that up. That's a process.
He's actively working to mitigate that
Right.
Constantly.
Yeah, we'll find ways to be more efficient, and we'll get with our staff.
All right, any more questions or concerns?
You do still, how long is the contract with Lifeline?
With Lifeline, we have a contract with them, and I think it renews each
Just
year.
constantly. Is
Yeah.
there another service here too?
No.
Or was the one that was trying to come in?
No,
Oh,
we
there
don't
hasn't
have
been
any that I
a while.
know of. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get any reimbursement from them or anything?
Yes,
Or-
yeah, we get reimbursement from them. We actually signed a contract, so we get $500 per transport. I believe.
Wow.
It's a guaranteed amount.
Oh, wow.
Before, we did it
Set
before
fee.
without a contract, and then you run into the Medicare thing that this is a guaranteed amount that we get.
I know lately it's been very busy.
Yeah, yeah.
They go
We-
over our house. Yes. it's
Yes.
Very busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
to your house a
they
lot?
stay.
No, not at our house.
Stay very busy,
Over.
so.
So you ambulance the patient to the helicopter, or
Yeah,
how?
we take transfers from the hospital to the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like if they
and
need a fixed wing?
They do,
or-
and for fixed wing. There's also, that a lot of that is in the wintertime when they can't fly, because they do have a landing pad up there that they can go and do. There's certain restrictions they have that don't allow them to do that, and that's when we step in to help out. We also, they can't fly in the wintertime, we'll take get their crew. It only takes one of our crew, so it keeps us in that minimum staffing. We can allow one to go, get in an ambulance, go to Walla Walla, Cadillac, Boise, to help the citizens of our community, so.
Oh, so you go with them?
Yep, we just drive them. Yeah, that's the nice thing about it.
So this is all interesting. It's not necessarily germane to the budget. I want to keep us moving. Any other questions for Chief? All right, we're moving on to parks.
May I interject?
Parks, aquatics, recreation.
David has a
May I,
question.
may I interject, and I don't mean to subvert this process in any way, but I'm sitting here just thinking, I'm really uncomfortable with the overall budget process here. And we can go through and we can listen and go through all of this, but in my mind, I've just crunched some numbers here. We're proposing essentially $5 million that would be spent in excess of the revenues that we bring in, which would dramatically deplete our reserve funds if that budget was filled, and leave us in a very poor position to have only one year where we could do this, provided that there's no, unexpected revenues that come in the next year and change the math. It gives us 1 year, basically, to make things happen before we have to make serious course corrections. So I just crunched some numbers and I thought, okay, our staff budgets conservatively, as we've heard. We have generally spent a pretty reasonable amount less than what has been proposed in the budget. I've looked over some of those numbers. If our city manager were to go back to each general fund department and ask for a 10% reduction in the proposed budget, we would shave $2 million off of that amount and put us in a little more of a safety cushion, buy us potentially another year, maybe more, depending on how things happen. It would take a 23% reduction across every department in order to make this neutral and not dig into reserves. That's unreasonable. I do think it would be reasonable, potentially, to ask our city manager and department heads to go back and find room to shave 10% off of this. We drop that number by $2 million. They reconfigure the numbers, and this committee can reconvene and look at what's been done and see if we're comfortable with it. So again, I'm not trying to subvert this process, but that's what's going through my mind as we go along. And we can spend a long time going through each of these, but at the end of the day, personally, that's what I'm going to be looking for, is we've got to get back to a number for me to say yes to this. And if we can't arrive at that number, I'm a hard no. I don't know how others feel.
David, respectfully, I think I'd like to hear the rest of each individual budget. I'm with you that we are not where I could vote yes for it, and I think we need to look at paring it down, but I think I'd like to hear from every other department. Yeah. Is that reasonable?
I'm absolutely okay with that. I just, I'm thinking really what it's going to amount to is if I'm at that number, for me, I can listen to all of this and it's great, but I'm not going to tell our department heads how to shave that back. That's something they're the experts at. They can choose. They know what's important, what's not, what they can work with and what they can't. And so I can go through this and we can provide some guidance, but at the end of the day, it's going to have to come back to me with some new numbers in it before I'm ready to really.
I think it'd be beneficial to go through it so we can provide that guidance.
Great.
And that's one thing I'm really concerned because our reserve and everything, I mean, because I was questioning how we go through this. If we keep saying, okay, we're going to do this department, but we've got to cut it across the board, or like David said, freezes or something, because I don't want to lose personnel, or services, but we've got to be fiscal conservative here and stay within our budget. We can't be like other counties or other cities that will just spend and then we're in a major deficit. That is something that we need to avoid. We do that in our own homes, in our own families. We can't do that either as a city.
So I'm gonna, excuse me, John. think Dave's got a reasonable idea. I think that, and in all due respect, we could listen to the rest of these budgets, these funds, and still be back where Dave is. My question is for John and Heather. If this budget committee gave you a direction to that nature, we go back to your department directors and find 10% across the board, how long would that take you? And then for Stacy, procedurally, what would that mean for us? Could we come back tomorrow night, do enterprise funds, get that one done, and then go into a recess for a week?
I actually spoke with legal counsel in regards to this topic last week anyway. What you just described is exactly what we would do. Is go into recess and then reconvene on an agreed date. And I would argue that I think that we could accomplish this. I have an opinion, but I'm going to let you speak.
But I
How long
have
did you say?
notification to send out and publish.
No, we don't have to if we recess.
So
The LB1?
the one, oh, with the LB1, so we'll, okay, because there's the legal document of the LB1, she'll have to probably double check. As far as that goes, I know that we've already got public comment over with, so as that piece is done for the general budget, and I know we don't have to republish for that piece, but Heather
But for
makes
the
a good point.
LB1, which is the actual budget approval hearing process, an adoption process, I have to have that notice no later than 5 days prior to our council meeting to adopt the budget, which is June 3rd.
Right.
And I have to give a week's notice to the paper prior to doing that. So,
We're looking at a tight timeline.
correct.
Could there be a special session called to adopt the budget later in June?
We've done that before, where we don't.
Have you?
Yeah, where we don't adopt it till like the last week of June.
Do you not feel that we can come together as directors
I
tomorrow?
think we could get it done tomorrow.
I feel we can too.
Oh.
So we could convene tomorrow night.
But it's, how fast can we update the paperwork?
Oh, I can do that.
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't mean
I think
that.
we can get it, we can get it done tomorrow, and if 10% is the goal, I think, while we were sitting here, Heather's already come up with some ideas that I think we could get there pretty quickly.
Okay, so Dave, do we need a motion to do this?
I think procedurally, it's not a bad idea to do a motion, and then we can move forward with direction. Think about a motion, though, so it's not all over the place.
I have a
Might throw
question.
that out there.
Okay, before we jump to any motions, just, Josh?
I appreciate what you said there, David. Yesterday, we talked about the potential for about $800K in additional labor costs.
Right.
So the numbers you were quoting, did that include that $800K?
Are largely inclusive. Heather, you can correct me on this. I saw about 4.5 million. This is ballpark. It was about 4.5. If we look at that, I put it at $1 million. So we're between 5 and 6. I used 5 million. Does that sound reasonable, Heather?
Yes.
I think I had those numbers pretty correct. So it was about 4.5. You add 800,000 onto that. I said 5 million.
Got it.
But to me, this is just me personally. Again, others may feel very differently. But I just noted that a 10% reduction would take 2 million off of that. Again, if we look historically, the city has actually spent pretty substantially less than the budgeted amount. But so if I say, okay, we take 2 million off of that, then we're allowing them to spend 3 million. Let's say they come 1 million or 500,000 short or something. To me, that gives us a very nice, comfortable buffer. We are depleting reserves out of the general fund, but we're buying time. And John, you talked about the need for some time to put elements in place before we make major course corrections that are necessary. That's what my goal is. My goal is to give the city time that we can do that. I think, again, a budget neutral position, I don't want to say neutral. We have the reserves, right? We could do this thing in full because we have enough reserves, but it dramatically depletes those reserves. So a neutral position that would not require depletion of reserves is a 23% reduction across the board. That is grossly unreasonable in my position. So I think, or from my perspective, so I think 10%, okay, I imagine that that's doable.
Would it be easier to do like a range?
What's that?
Just like throwing out a range, I don't know, like,
How about if we have a goal of 10 to 23%, and then we'll come back to you and tell you what we're able to do.
I think 10, I don't think we need to go over 10%.
If they
I
can,
think-
why not?
But what if they're
Because that
willing
means
to?
cutting a lot of services.
Depends on what they're proposing, I suppose.
But if they're willing to go, if they can find a little bit more, you know, do it. But if not, yeah.
So we may, how about we just agree at least 10%? And then what I can tell you is that when we built this budget, we baked in somewhat of a little bit of an increase in regards to what we thought was going to come out of the collective bargaining negotiations that I think is actually going to come in a little bit less than what we had originally put into this. So that's going to give us a little bit of wiggle room, not to mention a few other things that we have that we can look at that could be potentially cut. So, but you're speaking ambiguously right now. We can get more specific tomorrow. If we could agree 10%, and then we'll come back and try and give you that. And in the best case scenario, we'll come back with better.
I do want, it seems like department directors have been less of a participant in the process, and this is just my sense, that I really think that they're the subject matter experts, and they know what they do and the most efficient way to cut, and other places to cut that might be really detrimental. So I think they're the subject matter experts that we should go to.
I think we have a really great leadership team that can work together to come up with what you guys are looking for.
So Stacy, do we need a motion to this effect?
I think if you guys are all in consensus with that, and we just want to pause where we're at with the general budget right now tonight, just put a pin in it,
Yep.
and we can work on it and come back tomorrow with this discussion starting here.
Is it worth moving into the enterprise fund tonight?
At 8:30?
Yeah. Well, let's look.
Yes?
Yeah,
We're here.
we're here.
You guys,
Okay, so-
you could at least go through the review, which is the informational piece that John can go through the slides. Again, hold all comments and questions. He can go through those.
Okay.
And then we can invite public comment and get that done, depending on how much
Well,
review is, and then we can pause
Let's go through the
it.
informational stuff. That should be
Yeah,
pretty
because
quick.
it's just comments and questions.
Yeah, no comments, no questions, informational stuff. We'll start tomorrow night with public comments on
I would
enterprise.
suggest doing public comments tonight if we can get through this in about 10 minutes or less. I don't think it's going to take that long.
I'm going to read fast.
So we're starting with building inspection.
Remember, the more we can get done tonight, the less time we have to be in here tomorrow,
Well,
right?
you can hope
I'm trying.
You can hope that.
All right, so continuing forward, we're in building inspections. I have a slide up. Several of the changes reflected here are tied to increased operational activity and service demand. Revenue increases are associated with expanded electrical plan review services being provided for neighboring jurisdictions, which continues supporting regional partnership activity and workload growth within the department. Personnel costs increase primarily due to the proposed reclassification of the building official position, reflecting the complexity and responsibility associated with the role. The budget also reflects increased IT support costs and capital investment associated with replacement of aging vehicles to maintain operational reliability and field inspection capability. This proposed budget supports continued service delivery, operational readiness, and long-term sustainability within building inspection operations. Moving on to Building Inspection Reserves Fund. This fund exists primarily to maintain reserve capacity associated with building inspections, operations, and future operation or capital-related needs. There are no significant expenditure changes proposed within the fund for the upcoming fiscal year. The increase reflected in unappropriated ending balance primarily represents continued reserve accumulation intended to support long-term operational stability, equipment replacement, and financial flexibility within the building inspection program. As discussed earlier regarding enterprise funds, these resources are restricted to purposes associated with the building inspection function and cannot simply be redirected for unrelated general fund activities. I apologize, I skipped over a section that would have referenced that. If you have any questions, I can go back to that. I was just trying to be quick. Moving on to 911 Emergency Fund. The primary increases reflected here are associated with IT support costs and planned replacement of dispatch consoles within the communications center. I believe maintaining reliable emergency communications infrastructure remains critical to public safety and operational continuity. Funding has been secured for the dispatch console replacement project through a combination of general fund reserve support, available 911 communications funding, and surplus funds within the 911 services program. The total project cost is approximately $55,000. Overall, these investments are intended to maintain dependable emergency communications capability, operational readiness, and long-term systems reliability. Moving to Public Works Personnel Services, the primary increase reflected here is associated with projected labor-related cost increases and ongoing contract negotiations impacting Public Works operations. Because Public Works supports multiple essential infrastructure and utility functions across the city, personnel stability and workforce readiness remain important operational priorities. Beyond those labor-related adjustments, the fund remains relatively stable overall. Maintaining appropriate staffing capacity within public work remains important to supporting infrastructure reliability, utility operations, and long-term service sustainability across multiple enterprise fund functions. Moving to water. Several of the changes reflected here are tied to rising operational costs, regulatory requirements, and long-term infrastructure planning. Personnel costs increased due to projected labor-related expenses and ongoing contract negotiations, while IT support costs increase as part of a broader citywide technology and operational support needs. The budget also reflects increased professional services associated with anticipated regulatory testing requirements and rising chemical costs tied to water treatment operations. Transfers to reserves increase as the city prepares for the future, well construction and long-term water infrastructure needs. At the same time, transfers to the street and road fund decrease to better align with anticipated operational activity and past performance levels. This proposed budget supports continued water system reliability, regulatory compliance, operational readiness, and long-term infrastructure sustainability. On the Water Reserve Fund now. This fund exists primarily to support long-term water infrastructure planning and major capital investment needs. The most significant increase reflected here is associated with funding preparation for construction of the new basalt well project, which I view as an important long-term investment in water system reliability and future capacity. The budget also reflects increased interest revenue tied to recent investment performance. Maintaining strong reserve capacity within the water fund remains important to supporting long-term infrastructure sustainability, operational resilience, and future utility reliability for the community. Moving to motor pool. Several of the changes reflected here are tied to operational adjustments and ongoing fleet maintenance needs across the organization. Revenue increases are associated with anticipated changes to the internal fuel fee structure and projected equipment sales activity. The budget also reflects increased IT support costs consistent with broader citywide operational technology needs. Fleet maintenance costs decrease slightly due to restructuring within the maintenance and shop supplies budget categories. Capital investment within this fund includes planned purchase of a replacement truck to support continued operational reliability within the city fleet system. Overall, this proposed budget supports continued fleet readiness, equipment reliability, and long-term operational sustainability across departments supported through the motor pool fund. Moving to street and road. Several of the adjustments reflected here are tied to anticipated workload levels, operational planning, and transfer alignment between related utility funds. Transfers in from both the water and sewer funds decreased to better reflect anticipated operational activity and projected needs this fiscal year. The budget also reflects increased IT support costs and implementation of a street inspection software agreement intended to improve infrastructure tracking, planning, and long-term maintenance coordination. At the same time, road maintenance and bike and pedestrian path expenditures decreased based on projected work levels and current project estimates. This proposed budget maintains operational readiness while continuing efforts to improve long-term infrastructure management and transportation system sustainability. Moving to Street Reserve Fund. This fund exists primarily to support long-term transportation infrastructure planning and future roadway-related capital projects. The budget reflects increased interest revenue associated with recent investment performance, while transfers from the general fund decreased to better align with actual anticipated transfer levels. A significant portion of this fund remains committed to projects already identified and planned, including approximately $500,000 for existing fund exchange projects and another $500,000 associated with the underlevy project. The budget also includes funding placeholders associated with potential local improvement, district opportunities, including sidewalk and roadway related projects, should those opportunities advance during the fiscal year. Importantly, administration does not anticipate new projects moving forward unless matching or supporting funds becomes available. Overall, I believe maintaining reserved capacity within the Street Reserve Fund remains important to supporting long-term transportation and infrastructure sustainability and future capital planning flexibility. Moving to Public Works Street Maintenance User Fee. This is the budget for the Public Works Street Maintenance User Fee Fund. This fund is intended to support transportation maintenance and roadway-related infrastructure work funded through the Street Maintenance User Fee Program. The budget reflects increased interest revenue associated with recent investment performance. The most significant increase within this fund is tied to projected professional services and engineering costs associated with planned roadway work on 2nd Street. The budget also continues maintaining reserve capacity and operational contingency funding to support future transportation infrastructure needs and project flexibility. This fund remains an important component of the city's broader long-term transportation maintenance and infrastructure sustainability strategy. Moving to storm utility fee. Several of the increases reflected here are tied to long-term stormwater infrastructure planning, regulatory coordination, and anticipated project activity. The budget includes increased consultant costs associated with floodplain mapping, updates, and development of floodplain remapping adoption work. Transfers to the Storm Utility Reserve Fund is also increased to help prepare for the future construction and infrastructure-related projects. In addition, stormwater maintenance and rehabilitation expenditure increase based on anticipated project workload and operational needs this fiscal year. These investments are important to maintaining stormwater system reliability, regulatory readiness, and long-term infrastructure sustainability. Moving to Storm Utility Reserve Fund, the fund exists primarily to support long-term stormwater infrastructure planning and future capital construction needs. The budget reflects increased interest revenue associated with recent investment performance, along with increased transfers from the Storm Utility Fund intended to build reserve capacity for future infrastructure projects. The most significant planned expenditure within this fund is associated with future stormwater construction, related capital planning, and project readiness. Maintaining reserve capacity within the storm utility system remains important to supporting long-term infrastructure sustainability, regulatory readiness, and future operational flexibility. Moving to wastewater treatment. Overall, the proposed budget remains relatively stable, with the primary increase tied to IT support and system maintenance costs associated with operational technology and treatment facility support systems. Wastewater treatment remains one of the city's most critical infrastructure and regulatory functions, requiring continuous operational reliability and compliance readiness. The budget continues supporting personnel, treatment operations, capital infrastructure, and interfund transfer obligations necessary to maintain system functionality and regulatory performance. Overall, this proposed budget maintains operational stability and supports long-term wastewater system reliability and sustainability. Moving to sewer collection, several of these increases reflected here are associated with operational support, staffing adjustments, and infrastructure maintenance needs within the sewer system. IT-related costs increased due to expanded software utilization within Public Works operations and broader citywide technology support needs. Department supplies and small tools also increased to support staffing and operational needs associated with the division. At the same time, transfers to the street and road fund decreased to better align with anticipated workload and historical operational performance. This budget continues supporting both sewer collection and wastewater treatment operations, which together represent critical infrastructure functions necessary to maintain regulatory compliance, operational reliability, and long-term utility sustainability. These investments support continued sewer system readiness and infrastructure reliability moving forward. Moving to Sewer Reserve Fund. This fund exists primarily to support long-term sewer infrastructure planning, capital replacement, and future utility system investment needs. The budget reflects increased interest revenue associated with recent investment performance, while transfers from both the water treatment and sewer collection funds decrease to better align with anticipated operational and project activity. Capital expenditures within the reserve fund decreased compared to prior years, largely to completion of earlier projects and updated cost projections associated with future work. At the same time, the fund continues maintaining significant reserve capacity to support long-term infrastructure reliability, regulatory compliance, and future construction flexibility. Moving on to grants and donations. This fund can fluctuate significantly from year to year depending on grant opportunities, donation activity, project timing, and external funding availability. Several grant-supported projects are reflected within the proposed budget, including library grant funding, urban forestry grant support, planning grant activity associated with the LeGrand Shore Grant, the public safety grant funding tied to FEMA and wildfire-related programs. The budget also includes economic development support associated with the Economic Development Plan, park improvement funding connected to the splash pad project and pump track completion, and Morgan Lake related improvement funding received through Idaho Power. Additionally, the budget includes placeholder funding associated with potential future DEQ air quality grant opportunities. We will continue pursuing external funding opportunities where possible to support infrastructure, recreation, environmental planning, and public safety initiatives while reducing pressure on local operational funding sources. Moving to the General Fund Reserve. This budget is for General Fund Reserve, the General Fund Reserve Fund. It exists primarily to support future capital replacement needs, operational resilience, and long-term organizational stability. Several planned reserve allocations are reflected here, including funding associated with emergency vehicle replacement, dispatch console upgrades, future ambulance replacement, pool HVAC replacement, library HVAC replacement, turf replacement, and building maintenance related capital needs. The budget also includes approximately $300,000 reserved for potential future capital improvement projects should the needs arise. Importantly, many of the reserves transfers discussed throughout the department presentations are consolidated with this fund structure rather than reflected directly inside individual department operating budgets. Overall, I believe maintaining reserve capacity for future capital needs remains important to reducing long-term operational risk, preserving service reliability, and avoiding increasingly reactive infrastructure decision later.
Good job.
Sorry.
No, all right. All right, so we've had a review of the enterprise fund. I'll ask anyone who has, like to make public comments, step to the podium. I have a 3-minute limitation. All right, not seeing anybody coming forward for public comment on enterprise fund. So I'm just looking at my notes. Our agenda is somewhat modified from what we started out with. So we've had information on the enterprise funds. We've had public comment. I don't think we'll start with detailed fund information tonight.
Yeah, I think the full review with the department directors, it might take long. I don't know what you guys have for questions, so That might take us over time, so I guess you guys can discuss how long you want to be here.
We
For
can see
you.
how far we can get
Yeah.
until then.
And then we'll make sure we recess,
Yes,
not adjourn.
I have that on my notes.
Good job.
Okay, so, back to the top. We're at building inspection, is that correct?
That's where we are.
All right. Any questions on building inspection? Would you introduce yourself because I don't recognize you?
Oh, yes, my name is Joe Sloan. I'm the
Okay.
building official.
Thank you. Any questions for Joe? On either building inspection or building inspection reserve? That's easy. Thanks, Joe.
Yep. Thank you.
911. You again. You again.
It's me.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim.
Question for Chief Hayes on 911 emergency funds. So is this a hardware upgrade that
It
you're
is.
looking at?
This is a system that we purchased in 2003. Usually they have a life of 12 years.
Right.
And we've extended it to 23 years. And it's the command center for dispatch. So we're
I
well
remember
over
going
there.
in there a few years ago and it was like, this is kind of archaic. So, yeah,
Chief,
needs to be done.
Are you
There's two,
fully
Steve.
staffed? Oh, go ahead. Are you fully staffed on dispatchers?
We are not. We're down one, as of 2 weeks ago, we were down one dispatcher.
Hard to get and a lot of training.
Yes.
And you have two consoles you're replacing.
Uh,
I've been down there, but
Or just two.
it's two. I remember seeing it. It was just dark and a lot of stuff going on.
Kids love it. It's a great for a
Overwhelming.
tour.
Any questions on 911? We should start with this one next time.
Thank you.
Kidding.
Public Works Personnel Services. Wow, this is a new face.
Yeah, Kyle Carpenter, Public Works Director.
Yeah.
I didn't see making it tonight, so I apologize for being underdressed.
You look fine to me, but
Appreciate it.
personnel.
Just like an engineer.
I forgot my slide rule.
Personnel Services. This is basically where they pay everybody. Questions? You're actually going down in FTE by a smidge.
Yeah, I think it was seasonals. It
Okay.
wasn't a major deal. There is no actual full-time employee drop off there. Actually, we are actually filled the Assistant Public Works Director for the first time in, I believe, around 20 years. So
Wow.
we are, for the first time in 20 years, fully staffed.
Okay.
What position was that? The assistant?
Assistant Public Works Director.
Oh, nice.
Who does everything that Kyle doesn't want to do.
That's his hope.
You know.
Yeah, I'm good.
Any questions? Water. Can we do the water and reserve at the same time?
Sure.
We can do whatever you want.
I will say this, and it's always been a pleasure to see this happen. You're building a new well without having to go out for a bond or ask for a large fee increase.
Correct.
And that is commendable for both our sewer and water systems that we have. So you do a good job, and now we got a new well.
Yeah. League of Oregon City does an annual study on rates for water and sewer. Most of the people in Eastern Oregon are seeing double-digit increases due to inflation is the main reason that they point to. We have not raised rates in water since 2017. We have not raised rates in sewer since 2016. So we're pretty proud of the way that we run our systems, and we're still able to grow our reserves funds. And as you said, we're able to fund a well off of that reserve fund. Not to say we didn't research other methods. So like the Community Block Development Grant, which LeGrand just became eligible for, would fund a well construction. The problem is to qualify to utilize that grant for infrastructure, we would have to raise our rate by over 30%, 80% in over 2 years. Probably not widely acceptable by the citizens of LaGrande since we have the reserve funds we do to work with, so.
And our water reports are always good, and we have great water.
We have not had any failures this year that I know of. Usually when we hit something, it is, our treatment process sometimes gets a hit because of one of the chemicals that forms in the pipe. It's not generally a problem health-wise, it just gets a hit. We run our additional tests that show us that that's what it is, and then we're fine. But those will all come out on our water study that we do every year. Or sometimes they lose one of our samples, and that counts as.
So questions on water or water reserve?
Why would a grant require rate increase?
Community Block Development Grant basically is helping to fund low-income areas. So they require that the city show that they're doing everything they can to fund those improvements themselves. So they have requirements on how much you're charging your citizens before they will allow you to use their funds to construct your infrastructure.
Right, so in other words, we have so much money, they don't want to give us any.
Correct.
Okay. No questions? Motor pool. No questions? All right. Streets and road. ARPA money's just about spent?
Yeah, I think we projected spending $900,000 before the end of this budget year in June.
Right.
I think that leaves us a balance of just under $700,000 to spend next year.
Okay. And that's within the grant, well,
Yeah.
whatever it is, period. I thought it was like 3 to 4 years that you had to have.
Yeah, Heather did some magical financing that we've met all the requirements for the ARPA funds, so there is no longer a time limit on those.
Okay.
So they're basically free funds that are now just obligated to street projects.
Nice. Good.
Are we doing this all in-house, or are we hiring, contracting like last year?
There's one project we're throwing around that we may take out of house. The majority of it we're keeping in-house, but this summer we are doing an immense amount of utility work actually. So to keep the progress moving forward of getting streets done, we are looking to have going out of house with one major project.
So
Kyle, this is
the
not
ARPA funds, you're going to be doing the same streets you originally planned on, or no?
Yeah, we finished all of them except for 2 short stints on Monroe and Walnut, where we ran into some problems where we're going to have to do some full reconstructions on one. The other one, we were waiting for the Safe Routes to School to finish a sidewalk that connected Spruce to Island Avenue. So the sidewalk connection has been completed, so we're looking to do a grind and inlay on that portion, which is from Greenwood to Island, well, the railroad tracks. We're not going to go all the way to Island. The one on Walnut's going to be a little more intense. So at this point, with the ARPA funds being freed up to be just general street project funds, we're still tracking for public purposes to show where that money's spent. But the Walnut piece of the major reconstruction, depending on where it falls in workflow, might fall under a different funding source, but it will be completed.
So it'll just be those 2 projects?
Well, no, we've funded, let's see, Y, X, Z, and one other that it's not coming to me right now after we finish the ones that were designated by council.
I hope that magical financing is legal, but
it is completely legal, I promise.
Kyle, can you speak to the positive impact that the proposed gas tax, if passed, would have on this budget for the second half? Because it's January 1.
Certainly. So as many know, we're kind of undertaking an educational outreach of the intention of placing a gas tax on the ballot this coming November. The educational outreach is kind of to get a taste from the public of not only the palatability of establishing a gas tax, but also taking in the different suggestions of how we could mold that gas tax to make it acceptable to the public, whether that's attaching a project list that would be completed and then the gas tax would sunset, whether that is making it seasonal, whether it's just establishing it to certain what was the other piece? You know, the amount, I guess, is another one. There's a lot of different variety that can be set in that gas tax. I would point to like the street user fee as one of those funds that augments what we get from state gas tax that helps us complete some of our projects. The state gas tax would be another one where it comes in as a funding source that would help us to not only maintain, but we control what that money's for. So you could set it for maintenance dollars, you could set it for capital projects. So when you look at the street user fee, is only allowed to use on capital improvements, which means a 2-inch overlay or greater. So I can't use it for crack sealing, I can't use it for potholing, I can't use it for chip sealing. So it's very targeted. With the gas tax, we have the opportunity to provide flexibility to those funds to fill the needs that we have inside our community. When you look at the cost up front, the street user fee delivers us about $420,000 a year, and it costs everybody $8 a month on your water bill, so about $96 a month per meter. A gas tax, when doing the calculations, is probably around under $20 a year for each of our citizens, and it would deliver more money. We're estimating that it would be on the range of $500,000 to $600,000 based on previous fuel volumes that were pumped inside the city of LeGrande. Those numbers were provided by ODOT.
That's at 3 cents, right?
And that's at a 3 cent rate, 3 cents per gallon. So, of course, you could increase that, decrease that, whatever it is. I think at this point, you know, the city's just moving forward saying, hey, here's an opportunity where we can provide additional funding for our streets at a lower cost per citizen out there and provide more services.
500,000 to 600,000, if I read this right, would be about a 25-30% increase in the budget that we have available for roads. Does that look about right?
I would say it would probably, so the state gas tax, if we hit 500, you're at a 50 to 60% increase for just our maintenance dollars. The downside of that, it's probably actually higher because your state highway tax is not just paying for street maintenance. That's paying for your street lights, that's paying for striping, that's paying for a whole lot of associated fees that surround our transportation system, signs, sweeping. The good thing is that when you look at most of our overhead costs, including all of those items, those are covered with what we are currently. So all of the money that comes from the state, a local gas tax would be applied straight to pavement maintenance.
Okay. Any other questions on streets? Street reserve, street maintenance? Just a very quick, what is the difference between street and road and street maintenance? Is it the funding source?
Yeah, street maintenance is your street user fee.
Okay.
Street maintenance is gas tax.
Okay.
Street reserve is basically where we run all of our large projects out of. So this would be your grant funded stuff. This would be your state delegated money that came down from ODOT, and where the transfer is from the general fund of that 25% of unexpected increase would come into.
Okay. Questions on streets? Storm utility fee, storm utility reserve. So you budget a lot for storm events, but you don't necessarily spend it all.
Yeah, this year was exceptionally low. I think we brought the plows out one day.
Yeah, we had
It was pretty low. So you can see that reflect in the storm events line. We programmed 200,000, we've spent 50. Most of that was sweeping up gravel.
Yeah.
So, yep, same thing next year. We actually increased it to 250 just because the fund is healthy.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that greatest amount spent in the storm events line in the last 10 years, I believe, was 269,000. So 250 adequately reflects the upper bound. I don't imagine, based on climactic trends, that we're going to see that anytime soon.
Okay. Any other questions on storm utility?
Can I talk about storm utility reserve for 2 seconds to toot
Sure.
our horn? So one of the things that you'll see that the capital outlay did increase by more than what we generally call out. We fixed that during our budget reviews. We were informed that we were awarded a grant through FEMA for $550,000 to replace the culvert on 18th Street to mitigate some local flooding impacts that happen every time we get large snow melt-offs. So that will take place this year, so that was kind of exciting.
Okay, good. Sewer, water, wastewater treatment, sewer collection. and reserve. Questions? You're changing out some of the pumping system out at the treatment center? Like you've got floating?
Oh, the aerators, yes. We're switching the type of aerators we're using. We use some Mars 5 aerators. They are, so it's technical speak, but we have like a 2% dissolved solids in our pre-aerated basin for a while, which means basically the bugs are underfed and they're not treating as well as we'd like them to. So we're switching to a different type of aerator, large coarse bubble that we installed 2 of them. It's already increased it by 1%, the dissolved oxygen inside the plant. So it's pretty exciting.
And you have that primary, the primary treatment facility that filters out a lot of
the Headworks building,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yep.
That's in full operation now?
It's in full operation. We have 2 screens now instead of just 1, so we have some backup, higher capacity usage. So as many know, the biggest detriment in sewer treatment today is adult wipes. They are not flushable, so please do not flush them. Most of the time we can catch them with the screen. They do get by. If you'd like to see, we have some very large conglomerated chunks of them. I have pictures if you'd like to see them.
Oh.
The crews have gotten very
Let's talk about sewer reserve.
All right, let's go sewer reserve.
Keep on track.
Put those on the website.
Just found the key to get through this faster.
That's an incentive to move along.
Okay.
Sewer reserve, any questions on sewer reserve fund? Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder, I don't think we necessarily need to talk about the grants and donations fund, simply placeholders for the possible money next year. All right. I'm going to recess the meeting tonight.
General reserve? You want to go over general reserve?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that real quick.
That's the last one.
Yep. General reserve fund, that's where money gets collected and stored, carried forward as needed to lessen the impact of large purchases in the future. I think all of that is a reasonable way to do it rather than having to make a big bite out of it at one time. Questions here? Okay, now, I'm going to recess the meeting until tomorrow night. I anticipate coming back to the general fund.
You want to finish out the general fund first?
Right, and that we will review whatever changes you have recommended to us tomorrow night.
Now, just a quick clarifying question, because I know Corinne had asked about going through, starting with, think of parks, with the questions. We didn't get Stu up here to talk about the parks, aquatics, recreation going off of the agenda.
Right.
So I don't know if you guys wanted to start there, or you just want to go right into what the team comes up with tomorrow.
I think, and I'm open to hearing from other members of the budget committee, I think we probably need to restart, because my guess is that there's going to be some changes throughout the budget. I recommend that John give us highlights for the changes, and then go into a little bit more depth. I'm going to honor what Dave brought up. Our goal is not, I think, to pick and choose. The directors, I think, are better suited to that effort than we are. We've asked them to do a 10%. If they come back with more, great. If they come back with 10, my thought is we take what they've given us, and we understand what the impact is going to be. So,
okay.
With that, do you need anything else?
I think we're good.
All right, I'm going to recess us until tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and hopefully we can wrap this up.